historic Ohio Stadium, the scene, Iowa and Ohio State do battle in a Big Ten rivalry that's really heated up. The Iowa-Ohio State series of the 1980s has been a study of big plays. Record-setting quarterback Chuck Long passed 72 yards to wide receiver Dave Moritz in a 1983 Hawkeye win, Iowa's first over Ohio State in 20 years. One season later, Keith Byers burst into the Iowa secondary on a 50-yard TD romp. Byers rushed for 2 scores, passed for another, and caught a TD pass, leading the Buckeyes to victory. In 1985, John Woolridge picked up the scarlet and gray gauntlet, motored through the Hawkeyes on a 57-yard TD gallop to face an upset of the nation's top-ranked team and kick off a celebration in Columbus. In the 80s, Ohio State also made plays through the air. Quarterback Jim Carsados to fleet wide receiver Chris Carter, shaking loose down the sidelines, capping a string of 3 straight Buckeye victories in the series. More recently, the combination of Chuck Hartley to tight end Marv Cook on 4th and 23, 6 seconds left in the game, lifted the Hawkeyes to a win. Last year, a changing of the guard on the OSU sidelines. Head coach Earl Bruce leaves. John Cooper steps in to match wits with Iowa's Hayden Fry on a rainy November afternoon in Iowa City. It took this 40-yard Jeff Skillett field goal, 24 seconds left, to draw the Hawkeyes into a hard-fought tie. Today, these two Big Ten rivals collide again, each celebrating its 100th year of college football. Stadium on the banks of the Olentangy River in Columbus, Ohio. It's the horseshoe of college football. And a quick look at the Big Ten standings details Ohio State's chances in the Big Ten race. And yes, the Buckeyes still have hope of smelling roses in January. A victory today keeps that hope alive, as well as most certainly clinching a postseason bowl. Iowa just trying to stay alive in the race for a postseason ticket. Some have termed today's contest a must-win to that end. And a pleasant good afternoon, everyone. Wayne Larrabee with Stan White. You know, when John Cooper took over here in 1988, there was a lot of talk that Ohio State's standard 3 yards and a cloud of dust offense was a relic of the past. They'd open it up and be a big, high-flying passing game. But Coach Cooper discovered earlier this year that what the Buckeyes still do best is run the ball, and that's the basis for their success this year.
Well, Wayne, John Cooper found out you have to win first at Ohio State before you figure out how you're going to win. I think he looked at the offense he had. He saw a huge offensive line and a bevy of running backs led by Carlos Snow, who as a junior this year needs only 108 yards to break into the top 10 all-time rushers at Ohio State. They ran for 456 yards last week against Northwestern. They're the #1 rushing team in the Big Ten, and they will keep the ball on the ground today.
Well, you know, Iowa and Hayden Fry, they've made their mark through the 1980s through the air, and they'll try that again today against an Ohio State defense that has been porous against the pass.
Last in the Big Ten, and last week Matt Rogers, the sophomore quarterback who's done an excellent job for Iowa this year, threw for 291 yards against Illinois, the #1 pass defense in the country. So they can throw the football, they will, and I know they're licking their chops going up against that weak, as you say, porous pass defense of Ohio State.
Well, I'll tell you what, it should be an exciting ball game. This series has been a wild series over the past several years. And here come the Hawkeyes of Coach Hayden Fry. The Iowa Hawkeyes coming in here with a record overall of 4-4, 2-3 in Big Ten play. And in a few moments, the Ohio State Buckeyes under Coach John Cooper will enter, and here they come. is Ohio State is brought to you by Trade West. Our John Elway's quarterback Nintendo game puts you in the action. By SkyTel, that great communication system in the sky. And by UPS, fast, efficient service to 175 countries and territories worldwide.
It was not.
Wayne Larrabee with Stan White and Ben Bennett. It's partly cloudy here. There you get a look at the conditions. It's a great afternoon for football here in the heart of Ohio. Let's get out of the field and our sideline reporter, Ben Bennett.
Well, thank you, Wayne. When you watch these two football teams kick off today, they'll each be doing so in their 100th season. Those 100 seasons have produced a football-rich tradition. Between these two teams, they have won 31 league titles. They've gone to 16 Rose Bowls. They've produced 6 Heisman Trophy winners, and they've won 3 national titles. So as you watch these two teams, remember, you're seeing a little bit more than a regular football game. You're seeing Big Ten tradition. Back up to you, Wayne.
Thank you very much, Ben, and let's take a look at what these two teams have done against one another. Ohio State really dominated this series back when you played Stan White in the late 60s, early 70s, and here in the 80s, they've gone back and forth. Matter of fact, Ohio State's won 4 of the 7. Pat O'Morrow getting set to boot it away and start the festivities here today. 5'11" junior, or rather senior, out of Radford, Virginia. Twin safeties back deep for the Hawkeyes. Almost 90,000 on hand, and we're underway. Mike Saunders into the end zone, 5 yards deep, and Danon Hughes tells him to stay there with it. The Hawkeyes will settle for the football on the 20-yard line. And now for today's road handlers starting lineup. For the Iowa Hawkeyes, Matt Rogers. His father is the head coach of the Boston Celtics. He's developing into a fine young sophomore quarterback. Bass and Stewart, tough running backs for the Hawkeyes. Hughes, pretty good speed. Watkins always gets open. John Palmer's done a decent job at tight end for the Hawks. On the offensive line, Devlin takes over at center. Anderson used to play center, now moving over to guard with the veteran Jim Poynton. And then Baxley and Hawthorne are the tackles. Hawkeyes on a 1st and 10 at the 20-yard line. Stewart to the outside, slipped, and Judah Herman met him to make the stop, a loss of about 3. Now let's take a look at the Ohio State Buckeye defense. Much maligned. Up front, Pat Thomas, a bit of an overachiever. Zizikovich provides some pass rush on the interior. Lease is the drop backer, and Spellman is the pass rusher. He'll be an All-America in a couple of years. Herman and Eisenman, tough inside. Eisenman used to be an Olympic boxing hopeful. And then Clark and Brown, the corners, with Dumas, hitter, and Pelini at safety. 2nd down. Loss of 2 on the previous play. 2nd at about 12. This is the fullback, Richard Bass. Out near the 25-yard line, gain of about 7. It leaves a 3rd down and 5 for the Hawkeyes, and Judah Herman once again in the middle of the defense, along with Mark Pelini on the stop for Ohio State.
Wayne, one thing we're seeing right away, Ohio State, because they have not got much of a pass rush out of their normal defense, putting in a nickel. They're bringing in number 94, Derek Foster, and taking out the nose guard, Pat Thomas. They got to have more pressure on this passer.
There you get a look at the coaches. Cooper in his 2nd year, Hayden Fry in his 11th year at Iowa. 3rd down and 5. Stewart to the outside for the 1st down and more. Out to about the 38-yard line. David Brown was there to cut him off. Eisenman had a shot at him much earlier than that. 13-yard gain.
When you go the nickel, you're taking away one of your linebackers. And here's what happens if they run. Derek Eisman just can't get to him. There's no outside linebacker to contain on nickel defense. A good play call by Hayden Fry. Now, you want them to run, but you still have to contain. If your defensive end doesn't do it when the linebacker's gone, you're in real trouble.
There's a look at Stewart this season. Just rounding into form off of off-season knee surgery. And Stewart again. Kept those legs driving, Stan White, and as a result, picked up an extra couple of yards. Gain of about 5. Thomas and Eisenman on the stop. Judah Herman was also there. Eisenman, what? Olympic boxing hopeful. Did he fight Mike Tyson years ago when they were in high school?
In the Golden Gloves. In fact, Tyson beat him in a decision, not a knockout, in the Golden Gloves semifinals. Now, Eisenman quit football last year to try to make the Olympic team, but was just an alternate. Just, I say, yeah.
Yeah, not bad. 2nd and 4 Hawkeyes. Hughes in motion. Stewart continues the ground attack. Gain of just about a yard. Good pursuit on the outside. Tom Lease was out there in front of the play.
What you're seeing Iowa doing right now is just establishing the line of scrimmage. They probably figure Ohio State's coming in thinking they're going to throw every down. You see the tight end block down? Right there, the linebacker coming up. Good play of the outside linebacker right there by Tom Lease, getting penetration, forcing him to that sideline. If the outside linebacker can get upfield on that cross block before that big tackle gets a head of steam on him, then he can make the play.
3rd down and about 4. Rodgers off the mark, intended for Marciano in front of the Hawkeye bench. Tom Lease dropped back in coverage for Ohio State. It's a 4th down. The Buckeye defense has contained the Hawkeyes, and Iowa's forced to punt.
Again, I think they're just feeling out Ohio State's defense. They assumed Ohio State was preparing for a passing attack, maybe a little soft. They're going to run right at them and keep them honest.
On to do the punting, Jim Isaac. Jeff Graham back deep for Ohio State. Graham, one of the best in the country. Out to the 31-yard line. He ranks 6th. He ranks 6th in the Big Ten.
Jeff Graham.
And 11th nationally. Brian Wise made the tackle. Let's take a look at the lineups. Greg Fry, quarterback for Ohio State's done a fine job. Snow is the guy to watch here. Scotty Graham, a very solid fullback. Jeff Graham is a threat at wide receiver as well as punt returning. Jim Palmer's done an outstanding job for the injured Jeff Ellis at tight end. Dan Beatty, the center.
That was a 37-yard punt.
Coles and Davidson. Davidson's a 300-pounder. Moxley and Stasiak. Moxley also 310 pounds. 1st down for the Buckeyes. Carlos Snow on a gain of about 5 to the 36-yard line. Jim Johnson made the stop for the Hawkeyes. And let's look at the Iowa defense for you. Jeff Keppel playing inside does a solid job. 55 tackles. Dumont and Blue on the outside. They're the new additions to the lineup this year. Quast and Foster very active inside. Quast over 400 career tackles. Johnson is a pass rusher. Hanks a very fine cornerback. And there are the safeties. Eddie Polly comes up and supports the run pretty well. 2nd and 5 for the Buckeyes. Fry. Wide open is Palmer for a 1st down into Hawkeye territory. 15-yard pickup. Greg Brown made the tackle.
This is the counter pass play. We talked to Jim Coletto, their offensive coordinator of Ohio State yesterday. They draw the linebackers up, and he said their tight end may be a big factor in this game. And Jim Palmer, who, by the way, has replaced the potential All-American in Jeff Ellis, done a good job. We're going to see him on that play several times today.
Darth Vader behind the visor. Greg Fry likes to wear that visor, not because of the sun, but because they can't read his eyes when he's calling out the signals and setting up to pass. 1st and 10 for the Buckeyes, and Fry on the roll. Intercepted by Eddie Polly. And the Hawkeyes will get it out near the midfield markers. Carlos Snow made the stop. 12-yard interception return.
Iowa, a basic zone team. In zones, you try to read patterns. Watch Eddie Polly in the middle of your screen. You'll see him break before the ball's thrown. You'll see him coming right there. The free safety read the out by the middleman, the curl by the outside receiver. You see the outside man. Here's the break. 84 outside to curl inside. Now watch Polly break in front. Nowhere to be seen in the play, but he's breaking before the ball's thrown. The quarterback can't see him. A great interception.
1st down Hawkeyes, 48-yard line of Iowa. Rodgers, lots of time. Spellman, and he coughs up the football, and Pat Thomas fell on it initially. Let's see who comes up with it. Buckeye football. Tom Lease finally found the handle.
You'll see him have forever to throw. The key here, he's looking for the backs. Nobody open deep. He wants to dump it, but the linebackers take away the backs late. Obviously, no rush, but late, Alonzo Spellman, the great freshman, gets to Rodgers, hits him from the side, and makes the ball pop out. There you see a man they feel will be an All-American in a year or two.
Buckeyes at the 40-yard line of the Hawkeyes. No score. Graham, the fullback, gets about 3, maybe 4. Melvin Foster, the inside linebacker, made the stop. Scotty Graham, 17 carries, 102 yards rushing last week. Ohio State had 3 backs rush for better than 100 yards or more, and that's the first time since 1970 that's happened here at Ohio State.
I played in that game in 1970 when Rex Kern and Leo Hayden and John Brockington all gained 100 yards against Duke. The thing was, these backs had never heard of any of those guys. That scares me.
Yes, sir. 2nd and 6 off a gain of 4. Here's Snow. That's a couple of times we've seen players slip on the turf out there. Carlos has it up for the first down and then some. Brown arrived on the scene for Iowa along with Eddie Polly.
Well, you look at Iowa, and Iowa has some good statistics on their side. You look at just the pure statistics, but the one that pops out is their minus 12, last in the Big Ten in the turnover category. They had fumbled 18 times. That's a 19th fumble already this year. That's an unbelievable statistic.
That's Beatty to the top of your screen on first down near the 27 of Iowa. Fry checking off at the line. Short gain there for Snow, down to about the 25, and there is Alonzo Spellman.
Alonzo, Zio, quite creative on the,
yes, sir.
The hairdos these days, aren't they? Yeah, Zoe Spellman. Now, if his head was a little bigger, he could have put the whole thing on.
Maybe he'll write All-America on the top someday, right?
You got to have a little notch for each sack he gets back there.
Exactly. Gain of about a yard as they spot it just outside the 25. 2nd and 9.
Split backs is a draw and pass formation.
The fullback, Graham. Man, he is a load for one defensive back to take on. Foster finally had to usher him out of bounds. Greg Brown got bowled over. 12-yard gain to an Ohio State first down.
Well, here's the draw. 5'10", 225 pounds, and with good speed. 4.5 speed. He breaks containment. Just goes down the sideline, a little bowling ball type. You see the wide receiver, number 84, Jeff Graham. The other wide receiver, number 88. He helps block to get some extra yardage. That's why they're in the game.
From the 14, Fry has the Ohio State offense, 1st and 10. Iowa in a blitz. Graham, the fullback, pulled down after a gain of a couple of yards to about the 12-yard line. Foster met him in the hole. Graham still motored for a couple of yards.
Back to the short replay we showed of the blocking downfield. Number 88, Brian Stabline, is a walk-on redshirt freshman who's playing because he can block downfield. They benched Bobby Olive, one of their leading receivers, returning because he didn't block well enough downfield. I think since he's been out and back in, Olive's doing a much better job too.
2nd down at about 8. That's Graham at the bottom of your screen. Jeff Graham, the wide receiver. Scotty is the fullback. Carlos Snow tumbles over the top. Inside the Iowa 10, down to about the 8-yard line. Brad Quast in the middle of the defense, along with Jeff Keppel on the defensive line on the stop.
Let's go back to that block again by Brian Stabline. When a running attack, to get big plays, you have to take down the final line of the defense, which is the defensive backs. The takedown, the shield, got 10 extra yards on that play for Scotty Graham. Very important and overlooked on a lot of offenses, but not a running one.
3rd down and 4. 7th play of the drive. Fry. He has Scotty Graham out of bounds, very close to the first down. At the 4-yard line of Iowa, Greg Brown chased him out.
This is the second receiver. Again, the counter play action pass. Looks for tight end. He's covered. He looks out in the flat. There's Scotty Graham, but he did not get a good mark on this play. He's going to be about a half a yard short, but again, when you're inside the 5 with that much to go with the 3 yards in a cloud of dust offense, you go for it.
Well, when your tackles are, what, 310 and 287, and your guards are 295 and 310, and your center's 275, I would think on 4th and inches, inside your opponent's 5-yard line, yes, you go for it.
That little center, though, at 275, you got to watch it.
This Ohio State line is bigger than most pro lines. Fry on the keep. It looks like he has enough for the first down.
So who'd he go over? The littlest guy on the line, huh?
And they're going to give him a first down and goal to go.
But the sneak is a play that almost guarantees you a yard if you don't allow penetration in the gaps between the centers and guards, because the linebackers cannot close to that 1-yard area in time to make the play.
Ohio State, of their last 17 possessions, and that takes into account today's first, they have scored 13 times. They have a lot of confidence in that offensive line, and the offensive line believes that it can block anyone. And that's what they're doing here today. First and goal. Jay Cook in motion. Scotty Graham, touchdown! Scotty Graham's 6th touchdown of the season. And I guess fitting that he would carry it in, because he did most of the work on the way down in that drive. He got a big 12-yard gain on a 3rd down call, and also picked up a crucial first down later on in the drive. Pat O'Morrow for the point after. Out of the hole of Greg Fry. O'Morrow 27 of 27 PATs. And the Ohio State Buckeyes have a 7-0 lead with 7:18 to go. First period of play.
They call the offensive line the wave, the red wave. Look how they just moved people out. They took the nose guard, shoved him all the way on his back into the end zone. You do that and give it to Scotty Graham, the little bowling ball, he's going to get in. Watch him just move people back.
A good second effort got Graham into the end zone, capping a 40-yard drive for the lead. ESPN's College Football Saturday, Iowa versus Ohio State, is brought to you by Buick and your Buick dealer. Great American Road belongs to Buick. And by Fuji, makers of quality film and cameras. Fuji, a new way of seeing things. Let's take a look at that touchdown a moment ago.
Wedge blocking, Wayne. They try to double and triple team a man up front. See, 3-on-2, and that just takes the linebackers right out of the play. If you can get movement on the man at the point of attack, get him back, it takes care of him and the linebackers behind. So that's the whole idea of goal line offense and defense.
Scotty Graham, 21 yards rushing, a 3-yard reception. Accounted for 24 of the 40 yards on that 9-play drive. There he is, Scotty Graham.
Number 35. You know, his real name is James Graham, and his name was James Otis Graham. Number 35 by the name of Jim Otis.
Jim Otis,
was a great fullback at Ohio State in the late 60s into 1970. And he saw his picture and name, and one of the reasons he came here, he was just so surprised to see that similarity. Same number, same name.
I'll tell you, the tradition at a school like Ohio State would be hard for any youngster to pass up. Pat O'Morrow, there's great tradition throughout the country. College football. These two schools are emblematic of that, celebrating their 100th years. Saunders is the principal deep man, and he will make the return. Not bad contain. Ohio State has not been happy with the kind of coverage they've had on their kick coverage. 20-yard return that time. And if you can keep your opponent inside the 25, better than that, inside the 20, you've done a pretty good job. Clausen and Tovar team up on the stop. They're really high on Steve Tovar, an inside linebacker out of Elmira, Ohio.
Kick return was 20 yards.
No, I got it wrong. Correct me, please.
Illyria.
Illyria.
Don't want our people getting mad out there, huh?
Stan White, a native, of course. First down, Hawkeyes for the 24. Fumbled snap. Spellman puts down the quarterback, Rogers. Boy, they have had all kinds of trouble. That is what well, they've lost 19 fumbles, and this is the second fumble they've had here today.
A freshman center, a sophomore quarterback. Yesterday, Hayden Fry said that was one of the problems. The snap exchange between two young players. We see it happen again. Luckily, they recovered the football because back-to-back turnovers deep in their own territory would have been a horrible way to start here in Ohio Stadium.
Second down and 12. To the fullback, Bass. Spellman with a big hit from behind. Gain of a couple of yards, maybe 3, out to the 25, leaving a third down passing situation.
He's big, he's strong, and he's also fast. Watch him go down to the inside and then have the speed to get back outside, rope tackle
Woof.
Richard Bass and just throw him down.
Spellman, and he is all of that. Oh, I'll tell you, he's going to be scary in 2 years, Stan.
Well, when you have that ability to get caught inside and the speed to go back outside, you have great future, obviously. Audible.
Rogers to the air. Travis Watkins. Somehow Watkins gets open, his 30th reception of the season. Pelini made the hit at 16 yards to a Hawkeye first down across the 40 of the 41.
Ohio State went to their nickel, and this time man-to-man coverage, something they don't do very often, which is why they went to the audible. The tight end was first, he was covered, but wide open was
Travis
receiver
Watkins,
coming across Travis Watkins. You see the games they're using? Watch him go right over top. You saw the speed, you saw the bull rush. You add a little bit of finesse to that player, and he'll be an All-American before long.
First down for the Hawkeyes. Stewart cutting it back. Stumbled for a moment. He's out across the 45 to the 47-yard line. Gain of almost 6 yards. Lease and Herman on the tackle along with Pelini. There's John Cooper in his second year at Ohio State. 5-2 record. Still has hopes with only one Big Ten loss. That loss coming at Illinois. Perhaps going to the Rose Bowl. And they've got Michigan coming up later on, a couple of weeks. Right down here, right?
That's right. No, it's in Michigan.
Oh, in Michigan. I'm
Right.
sorry. They played here last year. Second down. Spellman coming loose again. Bass is the screen man with some blocking. To a Hawkeye first down in Buckeye territory at the 44. Zach Dumas made the stop along with Judah Herman. 10-yard gain.
Again, anytime you see both backs coming weak, you'll see it right here, the fullback, the second back weak, number 23 Bass. He wanted to get it to him either on a screen, you see the lineman come out front, or just a check down, a quick pass, and give him some running room. Bass pretended to block Spellman. You say he was coming free. He let him go free to get him out of the way to create the opening for the screen pass.
There's a good look at Matt Rogers, the sophomore from Walpole, Massachusetts. On first down. Screens it to Stewart. Nifty tackle made by Ken Coleman, the junior from Dayton. In the open field on Stewart. Loss of yardage on the play, loss of about 3.
This time it was just a dump off. No lineman in front, but it was the coverage downfield and the late pressure that made Rogers dump the ball off and end up a 3-yard pass. Watch, see the pressure right here? Finally, they're getting people in his face. Again, Spellman hits Rogers in the back and forces a dump off, a good tackle, shoestring tackle, and a 3-yard loss.
Spellman has been all over Rogers this afternoon. They set up a slot to the top of the screen. Rogers. Hughes couldn't hang on. Clark coming up in defense.
Should have been caught. Should have been caught. It was in his hands. He was looking for Vinnie Clark. He knew he was up in the air, and when you start looking to backs, You take your eye off the ball. He's looking, but he forgot to catch the football. He would have come in bounds, and it would have been a completion.
Now it's a 3rd down for the Hawkeyes.
And that would have been a first
13.
down.
Yep, sure would have. 3rd and about 13.
Matt Rogers has poise. We saw the audible earlier. He noted the man-to-man coverage. He's come a long way.
Slot at the top of the screen. Rogers under heat. Tries to dump it off. Just did get it away. That was a broken play from the very beginning. They were coming hard with Judah Herman on a blitz that time. Zach Dumas also applying some pressure, and Sreko Zizakovic.
Well, they wanted to do 2 things to get pressure. They wanted to run line stunts to free up Alonzo Spellman, and they wanted to blitz because they felt their weakness in passing was not coverage necessarily, but no pressure on the passer. They're getting it today.
Sure are. On a punt formation, Jim Isaac. Graham lets it hit at the 20. And the Hawkeyes down it right there. First down for Ohio State when we resume. 27-yard punt. Buckeyes leading with 3:08 to go in the first. Wayne Larrivee, Stan White, Ben Bennett. We're back with a cast of thousands, cast of characters on hand for this ball game between the Hawkeyes and the Buckeyes. There's the Hawkeye, made it in from Iowa City. Ohio State starts at its 20-yard line, Stan, and Jim Coletto, the offensive coordinator, was telling us that basically Ohio State has to be very conservative on its side of the 50-yard line because of the problems they've had defensively. They cannot afford a turnover.
They want to do 2 things with that running game. Keep the ball so their defense is off the field and not put their defense in a bad position. They have to change their play calling in their own area.
Snow is the tailback, Graham the fullback, and Snow gets the call. Brad Quast, among others, in on that tackle for the Iowa Hawkeyes. Gain of about, looks to be almost 5 yards. They're going to spot it as a gain of 4.5. 2nd down coming up. Part of the Iowa contingent on hand. Not a whole lot of yellow and white in the stadium today. Red is the predominant color. Snow, 23 yards on 5 carries. Gain of 4 in the previous play. 2nd and 6, Buckeyes. Jeff Graham in motion. Play action from Fry. Jim Palmer, the tight end, with a first down near the 35. Greg Brown knocked him out along with Mark Stoops. Pickup of 12.
Again, you can see Greg Fry, though, being very sure of himself after the interception in their own territory. Again, the play action opens up the tight end, brings the linebackers up. You'll see nobody around Jim Palmer. Has to have the defensive back, number 29, come up to make the tackle, Greg Brown.
Buckeyes just across their 35.
What's your dad, Mark? He's got right up front. You got the right up front.
Scotty Graham moving the pile for about 3. You know, they've done a pretty good job, and Jim Coletto, the offensive coordinator, was telling us they'd like to mix in the pass a little bit to kind of set up that run, knowing that their staple would be the run, that they'd like to work the pass here and there, and felt they would have to do that to move the football consistently against Iowa today.
Well, they do. Just like Iowa feels they have to run a little bit to make their passing game go, Ohio State feels they need to throw a little bit. And right now, Greg Fry leads the Big Ten and is 7th nationally in passing efficiency. And you should be off a great running attack because your play action passes are usually wide open.
Fry off play action again on the roll. Stabline cannot hang on. Brian Stabline, the freshman from Erie, Pennsylvania. Stoops had the coverage on the far side.
Just another option off the counter pass. This is the 3rd counter pass we've seen, but they have not run the play yet. The running play. You see just a little dip in, dip out. Wide open, hits him in a bad spot. Right in the hands. And down it goes, right between those 2 8s.
So Fry now faced with a 3rd down. About 7 yards to go. That's Graham at the top of the screen as a wide receiver. Beatty on the bottom. time. Jim Palmer rumbling into Hawkeye territory for another first down to the 45. Brian Wise made the tackle to the secondary, 16 yards on the gain.
Again, Jim Palmer was expected to be a big part of this game. Watch the tight end go inside, then move back outside. Another dip in, dip out. Completely fools the defensive back, Brian Wise, who overran the first cut by the tight end.
Palmer now 3 catches, 43 yards. And as we said, he's taking the place of the injured Jeff Ellis, one of the finest tight ends in the country, who suffered a knee injury the second week of the season against USC. Fry on an option. Moses Santos met him on the flank. We've got lots happening in college football. Let's go back to the studio. Chris Fowler.
Okay, fellas, Notre Dame and SMU. Following an SMU touchdown, kicker Matt Luminec kicks it low into the line. Nick Smith with the block. That's Andre Jones, 90 yards for 2 points. Notre Dame's added a field goal and a Ricky Waters touchdown. It's 26-6 now in the second quarter.
I don't think any surprise there.
No surprise was SMU scored a touchdown.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Second down. Carlos Snow ran right over his own blocker and picked up a first down. Eddie Polly made the tackle downfield.
Well, his blocker was running right over 2 Iowa defenders. Watch number 66. You see him pulling through. Carl Coles. Watch right on his back. He put the block. Oh, I tell you, that's embarrassing defensively when you get hit in the chest and driven directly on your back. I don't know, that player right now is thinking about, I have to go and watch that on film.
1 period complete. The Buckeyes have carried it thus far, and they lead it by the score of 7-0 here at the Horseshoe in Columbus. Wayne Larrivee, Stan White, Ben Bennett. We are at Ohio Stadium. There's Hayden Fry in the black jacket on the right, and in the gray with the red cap, John Cooper, head coach here at Ohio State. First down Buckeyes, 34-yard line of Iowa. Ohio State leading 7-0. First play of the second period. Fry to Snow. Good move around the official. And Brown escorts him to the chalk marks at the 25. Gain of 9 on the play.
This is almost your play action run. You see, he fakes like he's going to play action pass, holds it out, then gives it to him. A lot of times when the quarterback shows the ball, it's on a fake, but he sticks it into Snow's belly, and only the official really prevented it being a further gain because he had to make a big angle to cut away from the official.
Almost used him like a screen, though, at one point. Snow 7 carries, 40 yards. Gain of 8 on the play. Graham, Scotty Graham, short of the first down on a gain of a yard. It'll be 3rd and 1. Let's get onto the sidelines of Ben Bennett.
Well, thank you, Wayne. You see the sea of red in venerable Ohio Stadium behind me. You wonder if they take their football seriously? For 21 of the last 38 years, they've led the nation in home attendance, and today is their 48th consecutive sellout. Big business down here in Ohio. Back up to you, Wayne.
I'll tell you what, coming over here, better than 2 hours before the game, all the streets leading down Woody Hayes Drive were chock full of people. You couldn't get by. 3rd down, less than a yard. Snow. John Derby met him on the play along with Brad Quast, but it looked like the forward motion was more than enough for the first down by about a half yard. So the Buckeyes continue to be able to methodically move the football on the ground and mixing in an occasional pass here or there. And boy, you're right, Stan White. When he does that play action, whether he hands it to the back or pulls it out and drops back to throw, it is highly effective. It affects the whole defense downfield.
Especially the linebackers, because as a linebacker, when you see the ball, you think he's faking you. And you start to drop, and all of a sudden you have to come forward, and you got a big lineman running at you and pinning you on your back, as we saw earlier.
Fry's got the receivers to the top of the screen on first down. Fry on the option. Snow to the 17-yard line where Moses Santos, a defensive end out of Hempstead, New York, chased him out, a gain of 6 yards.
This is the play they put in, one to run more today. The freeze option. Watch the tailback. Just stand there for a count. Then go out wide, take the pitch. This helps them get outside because Iowa's defense plays on the outside gaps. You'll see the defenders on the outside gap. There's the fake. Brings some people inside, but again, it puts 2-on-1 on the outside, and he can't run down Carlos Snow.
Graham with a burst. Just short of the first down. Inside the 15, near the 14-yard line. Leroy Smith, a converted running back, now playing defensive end. And John Derby, a linebacker, on the stop for the Hawkeyes. They close it up for a measurement. Apparently they are. We mentioned the freeze option and an option pitch in general. The Buckeyes will only go to those plays in plus territory, in enemy territory, because they can't risk a mishandled toss or fumble in their own territory.
Again, one of those high risk or higher risk plays that they want to avoid, if at all possible, backed up in their own area, as we see just enough for the first down. Ohio State's had this ball over 10 minutes to just a little over 6 minutes for Iowa in this football game. And that's what they want to do. Hold the football, keep it away from Iowa.
14th play of this drive that began at the Buckeye 20-yard line and has advanced just inside the 14 of the Hawkeyes. 7-0 Ohio State. We are early, second period of play. And there's a look at Greg Fry. And from the back of the Iowa defense, Brad Quast in the middle, along with John Derby, Eddie Polly in the secondary, Keppel on the defensive line. Graham in motion. Snow barrels to the 10 on a gain of about 3.5 yards. Derby in from the linebacking core along with Brad Quast, and Jeff Keppel on the defensive line were there to greet him for the Hawkeyes at the 10-yard line, a gain of about 3. The other thing that Ohio State would like to do, Stan, that Jim Coletto, the offensive coordinator, mentioned, was move some people in motion, be it a wide receiver or a tight end, because the Hawkeyes will start adjusting and moving in their defensive backfield. The Buckeyes want to try to keep the Hawkeyes from planting defensively before the play begins. Second down. 7.
Split backs. Draw again.
Graham has to bounce to the outside. Did well to get back to the line of scrimmage and maybe a half yard. Greg Brown came over on the force for Iowa. Jason Dumont also out in front of that play, along with Eddie Polly.
You know, Wayne, no matter what happens, as far as if Ohio State gets out 14 or 21, or Iowa would come back and go way ahead, I don't think anybody should tune out, because if you watched Ohio State this year, they were 30 points ahead of Boston College and hung on to win, with Boston College threatening to score at the end of the game. And they got behind 31-0 to Minnesota and came back and won that football game.
There's the offensive breakdown. 3rd and 5. Dante Lee, the lone setback, young freshman. Fry. Touchdown, Graham! Touchdown pass play, second touchdown of the season for Jeff Graham. And he was wide open to the back of the end zone. Pat O'Morrow for the point after. Jim Lachey, or I should say Ron Lachey, Jim Lachey's younger brother, on the snap. Greg Fry places it down. O'Morrow pokes it through the uprights, and the Buckeyes lead by 14-0.
A lot of people play in and out. There's a mistake here. 2 people went with the man breaking to the outside. Nobody went with number 84, Jeff Graham, coming to the inside. A mix-up in coverages cost Iowa 7 points.
Open it up here this afternoon at Ohio Stadium as their Buckeyes lead the Hawkeyes of Iowa by 2 touchdowns. There's a look at the scoring drive. 15 plays and 80 yards, 5 minutes, 44 seconds off the clock. Jeff Graham capping it with that touchdown reception of 8 yards. Iowa total offense 45 yards. Ohio State 140 to this point with 12:24 to go in the first half. Pat O'Morrow kicking off. Mike Saunders, one of the principal deep backs. Danon Hughes is the other. Hop fly of a kick by Saunders, and a fair catch signal made, and catch by one of the upbacks. And let's go out to Chris Fowler for an update.
Okay, Wayne, Elmo Wright has held the career touchdown reception record since 1970. Now Duke's Clarkston Hines has his share of it. 35-yarder from David Brown is 34th, and Duke leads NC State 21-10 in the second.
I'll tell you, Ben Bennett on the sidelines will be heartened by that news.
Hey, Steve Spurrier has done an outstanding job of turning that Duke program completely around.
First down, Hawkeyes. Rogers. For Hughes. Pelini breaks it up at the 35. That ball hung for a moment, Stan, and gave Mark Pelini just enough time to catch up.
We saw against Illinois last week, they like to roll one way and throw all the way back on a corner pattern or a crossing pattern to the opposite side. They almost had Pelini out of position, but he comes back and knocks the ball down close to pass interference. That's one of their problems, has been at the safety position on those deep passes, because Pelini really is, he says, he's not fast, he's not quick, he just plays with his head and gets in position, and we saw proper position there to knock the ball down.
That's Watkins at the top of the screen. And again, off play action, Rogers. Michael Tipley out to the 32-yard line. Pickup of about 6, and Jay Cook forced him out of play.
It's a good play by Cook. As a linebacker, you want to get back 10, 12, 14 yards, and then come up and make the tackle and stop them short of the first down and make them go into a third down passing situation. And again, Cook is a guy that like to get in the game, alternate him in. He plays offense and defense. We saw him as the wing back on the goal line offense.
Rogers to Bass. First down and a whole lot more.
Number 23.
And Richard Bass went crashing into a table on the far sidelines. Zach Dumas forced him out of play.
Watch Alonzo Spellman coming on the pass game. He loops around the right-hand side. See him coming? He runs right by the fullback. You know, when your eyes have to be open when you're looping around, you know you want to get to the passer, but don't forget about the man who can get the ball first, and that's the running back.
He hit an equipment trunk on the sidelines after he was forced out of bounds. Richard Bass took one hellacious hit after the play. Not from any player, but from the trunk. Now first down. Just short of the 50-yard line of the 49.
36.
Iowa Hawkeyes trailing by 14. Nick Bell is the tailback. Rogers looking to the air. Watkins in traffic close to a first down at about the 41-yard line, and indeed he has picked up a first down. Jay Cook and Derek Eisenman, a couple of linebackers out of the play.
Again, confusion by Iowa. He changed the play, and some people blocking runs, some people playing pass. Luckily, Travis Watkins finds the open spot. You can see between two of the linebackers in the zone, and able to get the attention of Matt Rogers. But you can see right here, there was some problems in the audible. They changed from run to pass quite a bit, Wayne, and they've had some confusion earlier. And one time, it resulted in a 90-yard interception return for a touchdown.
2 catches for 26 yards for the sure-handed Travis Watkins. Now they had the first down markers tangled up in some of the phone lines on the Iowa bench. It's amazing how many wires are out there on these two benches. Coaches needing to stay in touch with the people up in the press box area, some of whom are calling plays. Coming up later today, Arkansas still with a shot of a Southwest crown, and Baylor, one of the best defenses in the country, do battle. 4 o'clock Eastern time here on ESPN. And then our primetime game, Alabama. And the Crimson Tide been rolling along, and they'll take on LSU down south.
LSU's been disappointing this year. Only 2 victories. A team under Mike Archer who has really been a real power since Archer's been there.
First down, Hawkeyes. Rogers dumps it off to Bell. Nice catch by Bell, but it lost yardage. Zach Dumas took him down. Did you see that one-handed grab by Nick Bell?
Now, Nick Bell is 6'3", 255 pounds, played offensive line. I mean, defensive line in high school out of Las Vegas, but watch this catch. Oh, what a great one-handed catch, but he paid the price because when you stick that hand out, you open up the ribs.
Yep.
And you saw that Zach Dumas, who was an outstanding hitter as a strong safety, came up and saw that open shot and took it.
Nick has plenty of meat on those ribs, though. He is 6'3" and 255. Bell at the tail of the tandem. Marciano in motion, and here comes Nick Bell. Inside the 40 to about the 38-yard line. Polini over to make the hit, along with Alonzo Spellman and Derek Eiserman.
You see a lot of teams on second and long, I mean real long, go to a running play. What they're trying to establish is not being caught in third and real long. They'd like a 3rd and 6, a 3rd and 7, rather than a 3rd and 10 or a 3rd and 12, because you look at 3rd and 10, 12, that's when the defense comes up with big plays, sacks, and interceptions to try to stay out of that situation.
That's the situation. 3rd and 8 for the Hawkeyes. Rodgers undershot Bell. It would not have been enough for the first down anyway. Darrell Lewis, a true freshman out of San Diego, was flanking the receiver along with Vince Clark, a junior from Cincinnati. 4th down for Iowa.
Well, you see, he was open. It's a nickel back, Darrell Lewis, but look at the throw into the ground behind him. But again, you would have saw it would not have been a first down, as Vinnie Clark, also keeping his eye on the ball, would have come up and helped make the tackle.
Isaac 2 punts today, a 32-yard average. Graham back in single safety. And it takes an Iowa hop. Tipped by the Hawkeyes in the vicinity of the 14-yard line. Ted Faley down there first for Iowa. And they're going to mark it back where it was initially touched. So they'll mark it near the 15-yard line, where the Buckeyes will put it in play. They lead Iowa 14-0. We have 10:29 left to be played in this, the first half. And so far, things have been all red. ESPN's College Football Saturday, Iowa versus Ohio State, is brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? And by Sitco, the sign of quality. And by Bud Light. Everything else is just a light. Wayne Larrivee, Stan White, Ben Bennett at Ohio Stadium. Overcast afternoon. It was sunny this morning for the tailgaters. Been overcast, a bit windy. It's crisp and cool. It's just a perfect setting for college football in mid-November. That's our story thus far. Ohio State has carried the ball, so to speak, on the ground. They have carried the play straight through and dominated Iowa thus far. Buckeyes start at their 15-yard line. Poorest field position to begin a drive for Ohio State this afternoon. Carlos Snow. Nowhere to go, and a loss of a couple of yards. A loss of about 3, back to the 12. Merton Hanks finally got up to make the play. Really early on, Jason Dumont got in front of the running back and forced him to bounce to the outside wide.
And a good job of replacement, which means when one defensive back commits and then is blocked, the next level of defensive backs comes up and takes over that containment. Merton Hanks coming up finally to make the tackle for a loss of 2 on the play.
Dante Lee, the freshman, is the tailback right now. Second down at 13. Scotty Graham out to the 20-yard line on a gain of about 7 yards. Melvin Foster made the tackle of the play. Let's take a look at the scores elsewhere around the country. Rutgers leading West Virginia in the second period of play. Florida and Georgia scoreless now in the second period. Texas Tech on top of TCU as expected. Purdue leading Northwestern. Both of those two teams looking for their initial Big Ten win of the season.
West Virginia is struggling again. Who is going to win the Heisman this year? Is anybody going to win it?
Oh, I tell you, no one's taken the bull by the horn yet. Third down. Fry to Beatty for a first down to the 29. Brad Quast made the stop. Good protection up front on a gain of 9.
Again, deep in their territory, they're only going to throw safe routes. You see just a delay pattern underneath, trying to let people clear out and then catch the ball enough for the first down. If I'm a linebacker and I realize what Ohio State is doing, I do not drop deep. I make him throw it behind me because Fry's thinking I'm in my own territory. I've already thrown an interception. I can't afford a deep throw.
Sets up a slot to the bottom of your screen. The flanker is Jeff Graham. He's the dangerous one. Sebline in the slot. Play action. Fry comes up firing. Dante Lee, the intended receiver, near the 32-yard line. Brian Wise was coming up from behind in defense. Lee had a big game last week. 24 carries, 157 yards, and 3 touchdowns.
In the second half.
In the second half. And everybody was yelling around here about where's Dante Lee been and why doesn't he get in there more often? Well, he's getting some action in the first half today.
Again, this is a big game as far as bowls are concerned. Iowa needs to win to stay in contention. Ohio State still has Rose Bowl hopes alive if they can win today.
Fry 6 of 9. 63 yards and a touchdown. Second and 10. Here's Lee. Quickness, speed, and power, and he's got a first down on a gain of 11 across the 40-yard line. Leroy Smith made the stop with Eddie Polly. Take a look at how we got to where we're at. We have 8:23 to go in the first half. Ohio State leading 14-0. There's Graham leading the way, 31 yards rushing and a touchdown. Snow with 50 yards on the ground. They combined for 81 of the yards rushing. How about the first down? Iowa and Ohio State. Big difference there. First down for the 40. Scotty Graham, the fullback. Man, he is a load. Gain of 5. Smith made the tackle. Again, it's 14-0 Ohio State. Let's go to the studio. Chris Fowler.
Fellas, didn't take long for Duke's Clarkson Hines to grab that career touchdown reception record all to himself. This is number 35, 16 yards from David Brown. Duke all over NC State.
Man, I guess that is something, huh? 28-10. NC State is having a pretty good year, to say the least. Second and 5 here for Greg Fry at Ohio State. Fry. Jeff Graham tiptoes to the first down. Inside Iowa territory near the 48, gain of 6. Brian Wise ushered him to the chalk marks.
A good job by Greg Fry. You saw the pump. He was reading Brian Wise, number 15. Watch the isolation here. The tight end's coming. Wise goes to the inside. He has to throw outside to get away from the strong safety. Wide open, Jeff Graham. Good read by Fry, though.
7:28 to go, first half of play. Ohio State has dominated at the line of scrimmage. Graham gets the call again into a crowd for a gain of a couple of yards to the 46. Let's go down to the sidelines of Ben Bennett.
Well, thank you, Wayne. Quick injury report. Carlos Snow has dislocated the middle finger on his left hand. They're going to ice him for about 5 minutes and then take a look at him, but they'll probably tape him up, send him back in. But he'll be playing with a lot of pain in that hand. Back to you, Wayne.
Going to be tough holding on to the football and catching the football. That's where it really might hurt. There's a look at Carlos Snow, worked on by the trainer.
He's had injury problems all year. He only practices 1 day a week because of his knee. And you talk about holding on to the football. He had 7 fumbles in the first 6 games. That has been a problem for him.
Second down. Second at about 8. Dante Lee, the freshman. Oh, you could hear the pads pop once he made the turn inside the 45. Brad Quast, the linebacker. Melvin Foster, also an inside linebacker. Moses Santos engulfed the Ohio State ball carrier. Ohio State just about 110 yards rushing now to Iowa's 43 in the ball game thus far.
We're looking at the update of the Duke North Carolina State game, and you think of Dick Sheraton and Steve Spurrier, the jobs they've done, just like what Hayden Fry has done at Iowa, turned around programs that were going nowhere fast into dominant winning programs.
Third down and 5. Fry off play action and a roll. Ball tipped. I believe Jim Johnson got a piece of that football and knocked it away. Pass might have been intended for Jeff Graham downfield.
Yeah, and it might have been good that it was tipped because, again, Eddie Polley, the free safety, was closing quick. Iowa took away the short man. You saw, again, the double pump. You take away the short man, make him throw downfield. Here's the tip right here, number 71. Jim Johnson comes up with a big play for Iowa, tipping the football.
Jeff Bowman kicking to Peter Marciano. Bowman hangs it high. Marciano, fair catch signal, and to his knees he goes to make the catch near the 13-yard line, 30-yard punt. 5:44 to go, first half of play. Buckeyes still lead by 2 touchdowns. Now you would think a man in uniform would have a pretty good seat for this ball game, but even Euchre's got a better seat. That's a long way up.
Not the front row.
Iowa to first and 10 at the 13 of the Hawkeyes. Rodgers. Dumas almost brought it down at the 25. Elsewhere in college football, Tennessee on top of Akron, 11th ranked team in the nation. Virginia leading Virginia Tech. That's a big rivalry game, no question. Purdue now out in front of Northwestern, 17-0. Wildcats still haven't won a game this year. Michigan State leading Minnesota. And Princeton over Yale in the Ivy. 14-0 Buckeyes over the Hawkeyes here. We're second period of play. Ohio Stadium in Columbus, 2nd and 10. Rodgers, Marciano, first down at the 34-yard line. Vince Clark chased him out, 21 yards on the gain.
They catch Zach Dumas a little short. You saw the last play, he almost intercepted. Look how close he is to the line of scrimmage. He's only 5 or 6 yards deep. He's got to be wider and deeper than that. They're going to throw over. They like to throw 14 to 18-yard patterns in between the front line, the defensive linebackers and strong safety, and between the cornerbacks.
On the delay, Richard Bass did a good job of reading that play and bounced it to the outside for a gain of about 4. Tom Lease over to make the tackle on the play.
I'm a firm believer, Wayne, in doing what you do best. And I think Iowa, they came out, ran the football for some reason. They came out and said they think we're going to pass, so we'll run. But Iowa throws the ball well. Ohio State has troubles against the pass. I think they just should go to that, run the draws and traps, and not mess around with that running game.
2nd down and 6. Shift in the backfield, got a slot to the bottom of your screen. Nick Bell. And he is a load. Close to the first down. Let's go back to the sidelines and Ben.
Well, thank you, Wayne. You talked a little bit earlier, Stan, about how Hayden Fry has turned this program around. Find him right now in 5th place on the NCAA's active winningest coach list and having gone to 8 consecutive bowls. He really has done a great job here. Back up to you fellas in the booth.
All right, thank you, Ben. Iowa with a first down, Hawkeye 45. 4.5 minutes to go, first half. Bobbled the snap. Now here's that little shovel for Bell. Gain of about 8 yards into Buckeye territory. Derek Eisenman made the stop along with Steve Tovar. Again, they're very high on Tovar. He is a freshman, good size, learning to play linebacker, played on the down line in high school.
That shuttle pass is really nothing more than a delayed draw play. As a linebacker, once he passes the running back, you drop even further. But then they throw the ball up to him, and it's actually the same as a draw play, but it's delayed.
2nd down and 2. Watkins to the 24-yard line of Ohio State. 23-yard gain. Derek Eisenman caught up with him on the play along with David Brown.
This is what they do best. They try to drop linebackers on underneath patterns. You see the short crossing pattern, pulls the linebacker out of the zone right in the middle. Eisenman does not find the receiver behind him, Travis Watkins finds that zone, and Matt Rogers gets it to him. They love those in-between patterns, 14 to 18 yards.
Travis Watkins, 3 catches, 49 yards. Now Iowa on a concerted drive. Rogers on a roll. He's got lots of room. Inside the 10 where it'll be first and goal. Hawkeyes, 15-yard scamper. Spellman and Eisenman tracked him down. Matt Rogers, a lot of poise. He is a redshirt sophomore. Been in the program a couple of years. Last year, all he did was hold for placements. And he has shown a lot of poise as a starting quarterback here. This is his first year as a starter.
Well, we saw Alonzo Spellman again get caught to the inside. Stuck his nose trying to catch a play from behind and didn't see the bootleg. No contain.
Marciano and Watkins to the near side. Nick Bell. Oh, I tell you, he took on Pelini straight on in the hole and would not go down. The Buckeyes got some help over there to bring him down.
I think Pelini took him on, to tell you the truth. Pelini 6'2", 6'2", and 190, and Bell 6'3", 255. I think he did a pretty good job of stopping his momentum until the rest of the players could go over and probably heard his call for help.
Second down, a goal to go Hawkeyes at the Buckeye 5. Hughes in motion. Nick Bell. Pat Thomas, the principal defender on the play. Gain of a yard or 2 down to maybe the 3-yard line.
Hey, one thing an outside linebacker hates is a crack-back block, and Dannon Hughes really laid one on the outside linebacker, number 81, Tom Lease. Hit him from the side, caved him down, but Ohio State anticipated that when they put the formation into the boundary, so the flankers closer to crack back, they had somebody replace and help to make a tackle.
10th play of the drive that began on the Iowa 13. Third down and goal. Marciano in motion. Stewart on the option. Knocked down in traffic. Pelini, I believe, is the guy who tipped the football. Got a injured Buckeye down to the field. Let's take a look at this play, though, from the end zone view.
Well, you see the man in motion, Peter Marciano, is wide open here, but watch the throw right down. You look at the back of the end zone. There's a man wide open. He threw the ball right into the chest of Mark Pelini. Just a terrible throw.
It is 4th down now for Iowa from the 3-yard line. Vince Clark has shaken up on the play. Clark, the junior quarterback out of Cincinnati, Ohio, came into the game with 40 tackles, 2 interceptions.
Vinnie Clark is one of those players that really has not played that much, but watch his pass again by Tony Stern. Watch where the ball goes. Boom, right there. Now watch the flip. There's Vinnie Clark going up in the air over top of players.
Ooh.
Lands on his helmet, on his legs. He had enough presence to turn around and look to see what happened first, though, didn't he?
Yes, sir. Got a break of the action. Hawkeyes are threatening, but they've got a 4th down coming up. Wayne Larrabee, Stan White, Ben Bennett at Ohio Stadium with about 80-some thousand Buckeye fans. Iowa has decided to go for it on 4th down, a goal to go on the 3.
I would kick the field goal to get some points before halftime. They better know a play that's going to work.
Montgomery! Short of the mark, and the Buckeye defense has held inside the 1.
I said they better have a play that's going to work. This is a trick play, a counter play off of Power Eye. They must have seen something they thought sure it would work. But in the hole is Steve Tovar and Alonzo Spellman.
Watch the big freshman defensive end.
Here's Spellman closing down on the trap. Good play right there. Takes 2 people out. Just crushes the block of Bill Anderson, number 50. Spellman, with his athletic ability, stopped that play.
86-yard drive that came up less than a yard short. Now the Buckeyes pin deep. Fry Fry trying to get some running room, just get a little working room. Picked up a yard or two on the sneak. Minute 23 left to go in the half. Matt Rulin, the interior lineman, made the stop. Timeout taken.
Iowa taking the timeout, trying to force Ohio State to happen to punt out of their own end zone and to get good field position.
There is Zoe. I tell you, the big guy has had a big first half. Wayne Larrivee, Stan White, Ben Bennett at Ohio Stadium. That's our story with a minute 23 to go. Iowa still has 2 timeouts remaining. Coming up at halftime, Chris Fowler and company. College football scores and highlights, plus a profile on Illinois quarterback Jeff George.
Big game, Illinois-Michigan, both 5-0 today. Have a bearing on this Rose Bowl chase that Ohio State is still in.
2nd down and 8 from the 3-yard line for the Buckeyes. Jeff Graham in motion. Fry to Snow, following his blocking across the 5 out to about the 7 or 8 yard line. Eddie Polly over to make the tackle, and I imagine Iowa's going to call another timeout here, and in fact they do. So they have 1 timeout remaining. There is Zoe. Alonzo Spellman. They feel he'll be an All-America, as you said earlier, from Mount Holly, New Jersey. Came in with 3 sacks, 6 tackles for losses, and there's the Riverboat Gambler, some have called Hayden Fry. He gambled a few moments ago on 4th and 3, 4th and goal to go at the 3, and didn't quite make it. And really, they're looking at it 4-4 right now, a situation where they need a victory to keep alive his streak of 8 consecutive years of being in a bowl game.
Yeah, probably figured into his thought processes going for the touchdown, knowing he needed a win to stay in the bowl picture. I think so. You need some points on the scoreboard for your team going in at halftime. It's a lot better to have 3 up there than a big goose egg when you go in to prepare for the second half.
Well, if his defense, Hayden Fry's defense, can hold John Cooper's offense here on 3rd down, they'll get the ball back with a chance to put some points on the board before halftime. Let's get down to Ben Bennett on the sidelines. Ben?
Thank you, Wayne. Quick injury update on Vince Clark. He's got a very deep thigh bruise in his right leg. Doctors say they're going to look at him at halftime, evaluate his condition to find out whether he'll be able to finish the game. Back to you, Wayne.
Thanks, Ben.
Came down hard on that turf, and
Sure
this is the last year for this artificial turf at Ohio State. They are going to tear it up and put down natural grass, as Iowa did this year, Wayne.
Iowa had 19 surgeries after last season. This year they've had none since going to the grass, and Hayden Fry feels it's a big reason why. 3rd down and about 3 yards to go for the Buckeyes. Carlos Snow got a big first down. Brad Quast, the linebacker, made the stop. That would be enough to wind down the first half clock that shows 71 seconds remaining, and Iowa with just 1 timeout left.
Yeah, they will not stop the clock now. You get back to that change. On the turf at Iowa. Now they haven't had any surgeries, but they're 1-4 at home, and they've always been very powerful at home before.
There's the tape on the injured fingers of Carlos Snow. Jeff Remick, that Scotty Graham getting the call this time on a twisting move off left tackle. And Ohio State trying to wind down the clock in this first half of play as Iowa taking 1 more timeout. Yep, another timeout by the Hawkeyes there last. Melvin Foster made the tackle. Hayden Fry not quite happy with the way things have gone to this first half of play.
Well, they have to be hoping for a fumble now because the clock will run out after the next play because they have no more timeouts to stop the clock. I'm sure that Carlos Snow is going to carry the ball in his right hand most of the time.
Yep.
Now, he does have that injury to his left hand, but I'm sure he'll keep it in the right because he knows he has that fumble problem, and with the taped fingers, it's exacerbated by the injury.
So the Buckeyes have a 2nd down coming up and about 6 yards to go. 43 seconds remaining in the half, and Iowa's out of timeouts. And coming up tomorrow night, the LA Raiders rejuvenated with Bo Jackson. I'll tell you what, he has got to be the most electrifying threat on the ground of the NFL this year against Jim McMahon, who played well last week, and the San Diego Chargers. All starts again with the NFL Game Day and then NFL Prime Time. And Prime Time is where you'll see every single big play that happened during the day.
Bo Jackson, quite an athlete, isn't he?
Be a load to handle, huh?
Oh,
how'd you like to tackle him, Stan?
Better than trying to catch him.
2nd down, Buckeyes. Fry. snow protecting the football, and I would think that's going to be the final play of this first half. They may get another snap off. Jeff Keppel made the stop.
Now, speaking of Bo Jackson being on ESPN tomorrow night in their NFL game, and then talking about Illinois playing Michigan this week at Champaign, I guess there's signs all around Champaign and saying, Bo don't know coaching, Bo don't know football, Bo don't know diddly, referring to Bo Schembechler.
First half has come to a close. It has been a very impressive first half for John Cooper and his Buckeyes of Ohio State as they head off at halftime, leading the Iowa Hawkeyes 14-0. And Iowa gambling a bit toward the end of that first half of play. When they went for it, they went for the end zone on 4th down and goal to go with a 3 and came up less than a yard short. Ohio State defense able to contain the Hawkeyes to this point. Overcast, crisp and cool November afternoon here in Columbus, Ohio, as Ohio State trying to keep their Rose Bowl hopes alive, put together a solid first half of play. Let's get down to Ben Bennett with Hayden Fry.
Well, thank you, Wayne. Coach, everybody has to wonder, you're thinking behind the decision to go for it on 4th down.
No, none at all. This young ball club, we get down this close. We should have executed. They didn't anticipate us to run. They were looking for a pass. They were in a field defense. We just didn't execute, and this is the kind of season it's been. But we still have a half to go. We'll put it together.
In the second half, what kind of adjustments offensively do you have to make to put some points on the board?
Well, they've been mixing up their defense. They got into a couple of coverages we didn't anticipate, but we'll get it worked out at halftime.
All right, Coach, good luck, and thank you. Back to you, Wayne.
All right, Ben, again, 14-0. Ohio State over Iowa at halftime here in Columbus. Let's go back to the studio and Chris Fowler.
Okay, thank you very much, gentlemen. Iowa needs a win to really have any chance at all of playing in a bowl game. Ohio State looks good if they just keep it up. We'll hear from Bino and Lee during this halftime, plus a profile of Illinois quarterback Jeff George as he prepares for the biggest game of his life today against Michigan. First, let's update you on the Big Ten scores in progress right now. Minnesota has just scored. They take a 1-point lead over the Michigan State Spartans in the second quarter. Again, both of these teams jockeying for bowl position. Purdue is all over Northwestern, 32-0. Both of those teams came in looking for their first Big Ten week. Okay, when we continue, all kinds of scores and highlights at halftime. Notre Dame, SMU. We'll have highlights of NC State, a wild one with Duke. Stay with us. How they do in the second half against Iowa. They have a 14-point lead. Let's go back to Wayne Larrivee, Stan White, and Ben Bennett.
All right, thank you very much, Chris Fowler, and that's our story at halftime. Wayne Larrivee with Stan White and Ben Bennett joining us down on the sidelines. Welcome to Columbus, Ohio. Iowa did a lot of offense in that second period of play. Matter of fact, they gained 121 yards in the second period, but no points.
Well, here's
Ohio
the
State, meanwhile, made it up front.
Here's the difference, Wayne. Executing in scoring area, a running team. Watch the center get to the nose man, create him off balance, and they knock him backwards. Scotty Graham goes in for a 4-yard touchdown. You flip that over. Iowa on 4th down goes for it, and they run. They pass better, but watch Alonzo Spellman here just crush the block and then make the tackle, stop him short of the first of the touchdown. That was 4th down play. You look at the halftime stats, you see passing yards are in Iowa's favor, but not enough. Ohio State is doing what they do best, and that's run the football. Iowa has actually run more than they've passed in the first half. 16 runs, 15 passes. You have to do what you do best, and Iowa just has not done that yet today.
Iowa will kick off. Jeff Skillett, who kicked a field goal of 40 yards to tie the game between these two schools last year.
That was 4th down play. You look at the halftime stats, you see passing yards are in Iowa's favor, but not enough. Ohio State is doing what they do best, and that's run the football. Iowa has actually run more than they've passed in the first half. 16 runs, 15 passes. You have to do what you do best, and Iowa just has not done that yet today.
Iowa will kick off. Jeff Skillett, who kicked a field goal of 40 yards to tie the game between these two schools last year. Bobby Olive on the far side, and Dante Lee, number 20, on the near side. Back deep to receive for Ohio State, and the sun has broken through the cloud cover. And we're underway in the second half. Olive right through his legs. Into the end zone, Dante Lee, and he downs it there. looked like a shortstop who didn't get his glove down low enough.
Again, even if Olive had touched the ball and doesn't really make any difference, the momentum of the kick took it into the end zone, so it's a touchback, not a safety.
Take a look at the possession chart in this football game thus far. These are the Ohio State possessions in that first half. Again, the yellow arrows result in scoring drives, as you can see right there. 1 turnover for Ohio State in that first half of play. First down for the Buckeyes at the Ohio State 20-yard line. Carlos Snow, the tailback. Scotty Graham is the fullback. Behind Greg Fry. Carlos Snow slipped loose of Keppel. Now he's got some yardage to the outside of the 26-yard line. Keppel had him dead to rights back inside the 20, and Greg Brown brings him down at about the 26.
And a good cutback and a good backside block by Joe Stasiak. Watch the cut. See the block right there? There's a miss, but nowhere to be seen as a defensive end because Stasiak, 6'5", 290 pounds, keeps him away from Carlos Snow. That backside on an I formation has to close it down. If they don't, it'll create a natural gap.
15 carries, 62 yards now for Snow on the ball game. 2nd down and 4. That's Olive in motion. Snow short of the first down by about a yard. Jim Johnson, Melvin Foster met him in the hole. Gain of a couple of yards.
Again, everything Ohio State is doing is very basic. They're using motion. They're shifting their tight end. They're shifting their formation just to keep Iowa moving on defense. Because if you aren't set, it almost is a delay of a step and you getting your start on the play defensively. So that was their whole game plan, and it's working up to this point.
Double tights for Ohio State on 3rd down and less than a yard. Fry keeps it. May have lost the handle for a moment, but I believe he got it back, and he's close to the first down, although from where the official is spotting it, Rich Huffman apparently got the fumble back.
He's got to get right to the 30. It looks like they're just inches short. It was a touchback, so it started on exactly on the 20.
John Cooper out, and John is upset. He's saying, hey, you fumbled the ball, and Huffman recovered it at the 30-yard line, but the officials didn't give him that spot.
Yeah, he's saying you didn't even see the ball go forward when you marked it. You marked where the quarterback was, not where the ball was.
Right. So on comes the punting unit. Jeff Bowman, 6th in the Big Ten in punting, and Peter Marciano, 6th in punt returning in the Big Ten Conference. Back deep for Iowa. 4th down and inches. Bowman gets that kick away. Marciano, fair catch signal, looking up into the sun, and makes the catch successfully at the 26-yard line. The Iowa Hawkeyes have made some yards here this afternoon, but the frustration has been they've been unable to get it into the end zone. There's the first drive, resulting in a punt. Lost it on a fumble on the second drive. 129 yards to punt, 35 to punt. And watch this drive, 86 yards inside the 1, and lost the ball on downs. Came up short on 4th and 3.
And again, we'll see if that decision, what effect, obviously, it's going to play some effect, but what effect it actually plays in this second half. I would have taken the 3 and put myself on the board for halftime.
First down, Hawkeyes at the 26. Play action and a roll. Rogers, about 12 or 13 yards. He's out of bounds just short of the 40-yard line. Gain of 13. Dumas ran him out.
Dumas has been caught up and the ball thrown behind him a couple times. Here again, Spellman is caught inside, blocked by Richard Bass, gives Rogers the room to get around the corner. But Zach Dumas, when one man uncontained is blocked, he has to come up and replace and make him throw the ball downfield. No sense just giving him 12 yards. That's an easy game.
Sophomore quarterback Matt Rogers on a first down. Bass, Tom Lease out in front of the play, but credit number 96, Shreko Zizakovic, the defensive end who really made the play.
Exactly right, Wayne. Zizakovic got penetration, forced to cut to the outside, and Lease was just waiting for him out there.
Loss of about 3 or 4 yards on that play, so Iowa now backed up a bit. And again, they seem intent on establishing that ground game, Stan White, early going here in the second half. Second down, loss of 3, 13 yards to go for the Hawkeyes. Rodgers. Pass undershot. John Palmer, the intended receiver, near the 42-yard line. Watch the pressure here on Rodgers. It was Alonzo Spellman once again.
See, he's having a big game. Watch the move right here. It's just, again, the bull rush. Gets his hand right in his shoulder when he throws the ball.
And
that makes the ball go straight down into the turf. Again, a true freshman. Hasn't even gotten a real grade yet here at Ohio State.
That's why that pass came up short. Third down passing. Rodgers has struggled. And he throws it away. Boy, it had to be good coverage downfield because he had all kinds of time to look around.
Ohio State has really come into this game with a good game plan. The things they've done on defense to shake up what was the worst pass defense in the Big Ten have been working. They've thrown Rodgers off, and just the adjustments made at halftime just not working for Iowa.
Jeff Graham back deep, and Jim Heisek, punt formation, just did get that one away. Graham from his 28. Stumbled and fell right at the 30-yard line. John Derby down in coverage for the Iowa Hawkeyes along with Melvin Foster. 35-yard punt. And Ohio State will get the football back, leading ESPN's College Football Saturday. Iowa versus Ohio State is brought to you by Jaguar, a blending of art and machine. By the Stanley Works of New Britain, Connecticut. And by Domino's Pizza Incorporated. Hot, fresh, delicious pizza. Domino's Pizza. Nobody delivers better. Wayne Larrabee, Stan White, Ben Bennett. Ohio Stadium, there's, well, not quite Darth Vader, but almost. Greg Fry has been a terror for the Iowa Hawkeyes at times today. He has led Ohio State to a 14-0 lead here. Third period of play. 7 of 11, 70 yards. First down, Buckeyes at the Ohio State 30. Bobby Olive in motion. Fry off play action on a roll. Scotty Graham could not hang on, and I want to tell you, Merton Hanks almost hung a touchdown on the board for Iowa. Flashing in front of that play. Let's take a look around college football. Louisiana Tech at the moment upsetting Auburn in the first period. Rutgers still leading West Virginia. And Minnesota has the edge on Michigan State. Indiana leading Wisconsin. 14-0 Ohio State over Iowa. 11:16 to go in the third. 2nd and 10 Buckeyes. Carlos Snow followed the block of Scotty Graham off the right side of the line for a gain of 2 or 3. Jeff Keppel made the stop.
On the previous play, Wayne, we almost saw one of those mistakes deep in the territory they don't want to mistake. Greg Fry did not see Merton Hanks coming up in the short zone. Hanks went for the interception, tried to make a big play to get Iowa some points, and just missed. Now, if Graham could have caught the football, though, he'd have been down the sidelines the other way off the gamble.
It's 3rd and 7. Fry trying to drill it into Palmer, who couldn't quite hang on at the 40-yard line. Eddie Polly was on his back. 4th down for Ohio State, so the Buckeye offense has been contained here in their first 2 possessions of the second half.
Two things they didn't do. They didn't control the ball, and they didn't run anything off the clock. 2 passes are incomplete and a run.
There's Jeff Bowman, averaging 37 yards a punt here this afternoon. Oh, he gets great leverage and distance into this one. Marciano to the 10. Made a nice spin move to get what he could out to the 18-yard line. Peter Marciano, who's the nephew of the former heavyweight boxing champ Rocky Marciano. We'll be back. Wayne Larrabee, Stan White, Ben Bennett. That's a look at what's happening thus far in this football game. When Stan was here and began his career at Ohio State back in 1968, that was the coaching staff. And I'm sure you recognize the gentleman on the upper left-hand side. Yeah, Woody Hayes.
Woody Hayes, but there was a lot of other great coaches on that staff. Lou Holtz, who's doing a pretty good job at Notre Dame.
Not bad.
Earl Bruce, who succeeded Woody Hayes and preceded John Cooper here. And Bill Mallory, who has really done a great job at Indiana. And there's some other people on that staff, too, that names that people would recognize, like George Chomp, who's the head coach at Marshall and was in the Division I AA championship game 2 years ago.
First down for the Iowa Hawkeyes at the Iowa 18. Rogers on the roll. Nice throw. Did he come down and play? No. Danon Hughes ran out of real estate on the near side. David Brown was there to force him out. Let's get out of the sidelines and Ben Bennett.
Thank you, Wayne. Little update on the weather here. As you can see, the sun has come out, but unfortunately the wind has picked up. It's gusting down here and it's swirling down here, so you can't really tell which way the wind's going. That could be a factor if either team has to start throwing the ball a lot. Back to you, Wayne.
And Iowa trailing 14-0 here in the second half. 10-14 to go in the third period. Is going to be throwing a lot more than perhaps what we saw in the first half at least. Iowa started all 7 possessions in its own territory, 6 times inside the Hawkeye 30. Second and 10. The tight end Palmer is close to a first down. They're going to mark it as a gain of 9. Judah Herman got over to make the force on the far side.
Again, this is the underneath pattern to the tight end. Linebackers dropping deep, but you still have to respect the tight end enough to come up and make the tackle. That's giving 10 yards. That's an easy throw, and you cannot quite drop that deep and disregard the underneath coverage that much. That's too easy. That's just pitch and catch.
Yep. Quarterback's going to complete that about 87% of the time.
The play before, great throw by Rogers on the sideline, but David Brown hit him in the air and forced him out of bounds. In the NFL, that had been a good catch, but in college, you must come down in bounds.
Third down and a yard. Stewart to the outside for the first down. Oh, maybe lost the football in there unless they blew the play dead. Buckeyes, David Brown comes up with the football, but they had whistled the play dead. Judah Herman made the initial hit. Eisenman was also there. Tony Stewart picked up enough for the first down. Oh, and they are still debating the fumble.
Well, it should be measured. It was right on the marker. And you can see John Cooper mad. It was right on the marker. Watch the block by number 74. It puts number 81, Tom Lease, on the ground right there. That's what made it go. You get that outside linebacker down. Yeah,
ball is loose, but the running back had already hit the ground.
That was a question, whether that ball came out before he hit the ground. There's a couple things Cooper's mad about. No measurement, and whether it was a fumble or not.
Stewart 22 yards on 6 carries now. First down Hawkeyes. Play action to Stewart. Rogers going deep. Watkins is out there. And he overthrew him by 5 yards. Travis Watkins was so wide open, and Rogers was throwing into the wind.
2 deep zone. Watch the 2 deep players. First, the man comes forward. You can never do that. Never come forward on the fake. Now there's a man running completely free deep. A defensive back always got to backpedal first. Luckily for Ohio State, and unfortunately for Iowa, the ball is overthrown by 5 yards. A quarterback, to his defense, doesn't realize he's going to be that wide open because he throws the ball 15 yards before that really comes into play as far as seeing how wide open they are.
Second down Hawkeyes. Rogers again off play action. Overshot John Falloon up near the 44-yard line. Falloon getting back into the action in the last couple of weeks. He is coming off surgery on his kneecap in the offseason, and again Rogers fires high.
Again, wide open in the zone. Zach Dumas, number 21, up shallow, doesn't take the curl. Now watch this. See how much is overthrown? That's 2 in a row. Wide open receivers that he's missed, throwing the ball high. the pressure does that to you after a while. You're expecting to get hit when you throw. You're a little tentative, and the ball sails on you.
Rogers 9 of 15 in the first half, only 1 of 6 in this quarter. And he's facing a 3rd and 10 from the Hawkeye 28. Rogers on a roll. Some indecision, and then a dive for the first down marker.
By Zach Dumas.
Well, I don't know if he stepped out at the 35. If that's the case, he's a good 3 yards short, but he dove for the stick on the far side. Well, let's see if we can take a look at it from the end zone and see where he can pick up where he stepped out.
Again, it's a counter pass. It's man-to-man coverage by Ohio State. Now watch the block by Peter Marciano right here on Dumas. Oh, they just slipped down, really. They all just slipped down. Wasn't a block. There's the foot on the marker. It was a good call by the official.
Very good call.
At about the 35, a little over the 35-yard line. But the high-stage players all just fell down. I thought it was a block, but it was just poor footing.
Punt formation time. Isaac to Graham. Jeff Graham. Penalty markers down. If I'm not mistaken, that'd be the first penalty of this ball game if it holds up. John Derby got down there in a hurry. 41-yard punt. And he was kicking into the wind. Get a look at the infraction here in a moment. It's been a cleanly played game.
I'm just surprised there hasn't been a lot more points scored than what we've seen today.
Flipping the call against Ohio State, so this will back it up. Yeah, you're right. I mean, I thought both teams were well set to go at the different weaknesses on each defense. But I'll tell you something, Ohio State, with that pressure up front, more pressure than they have gotten consistently all season. And Iowa's been unable to get the passing game on track.
They've tried to put their best 4 pass rushers in the game. That's worked for them.
8:49 to go, 3rd period of play. The Buckeyes are leading by 14-0. But they'll start this drive off the penalty back at the Ohio State 13. We'll be back. Wayne Larrivee with Stan White and Ben Bennett in Columbus, Ohio. The Buckeyes leading the Iowa Hawkeyes in a game that could have, well, very deep implications in terms of postseason bowl action. Ohio State has dominated on the line of scrimmage for the most part. Although here in the second half, they have not yet cranked it up offensively. It's what, their 3rd possession offensively here in the second half. Greg Fry from his 13, 1st and 10. Carlos Snow. Melvin Foster makes the stop after a gain of about 3. All right, we've got some action happening on the East Coast. Let's go back to our studios and Chris Fowler.
Okay, Wayne, action in the Ivy League. Whoever wins the Yale-Princeton game clinches at least a tie of the Ivy League title. Look at Maurice Saul. Elude the tackler right there. The sophomore goes 30 yards for the tying touchdown. Yale scored again following a block punt, 14-7 in the 3rd.
A pretty fair run right there, wasn't it? On grass, too. Made
Sure
a nice
was.
comeback.
That was Ivy's answer to D. Dowis, the wishbone attack of Yale.
2nd down and 6 for the Buckeyes. Fry over the middle, Olive for a first down near the 33-yard line. Foster had the coverage, 16 yards on the pickup.
We talked about Jim Palmer being a big part. He's caught 3 or 4 balls. Now he takes the whole defense with him. You see the linebackers running at the top of your screen. He doesn't get back in position. Number 66, Melvin Foster. And Greg Fry finds the big hole in the middle of that Iowa defense, vacated by Foster, chasing the wrong man.
That's about the first down for Ohio State here in the second half. It is. From the 33, 1st and 10. Fry comes up throwing on the roll. Pass harmlessly out of bounds. He was hammered on the play by Keppel on the pass rush. Ohio State working with what appears to be the wind to the back, but we've talked about it already today, Stan White. You know better than I on the floor of the stadium here. The wind swirls in this horseshoe type configuration.
Yeah, one side of the field, one hash you can be with the wind, the other hash against the wind. I was always kicked off while I was here, and we could kick off one hash the other depending on how the wind was swirling.
You're still in the record book, you know.
I saw that.
75% on PATs.
Dubious record, to say the least.
Second down at 10. This is Snow. Carlos to the 36 on a gain of 3, leaving a 3rd and 7. And Stoops. Mark Stoops came up to make the hit along with Brad Quast. And Mark Stoops follows his brothers Bobby and Mike as all Big Ten safeties at Iowa. Mark in his senior year out of Youngstown, Ohio. Snow 75 yards now and 19 carries.
We haven't seen the Iowa blitz like we saw in the game against Illinois last week. They blitzed quite a bit. This might be a time where they want to make something happen against split backs for Ohio State.
On 3rd and 7. Nice throw to Graham. Into the clear. Hook forced him out.
Again, watch him come over the middle. Watch him throw between the two short men. And then it's just all Jeff Graham running across the field. 2 missed tackles, 3 missed tackles. Nice job of letting the blockers form in front of him. 4 missed tackles before he's finally forced out of bounds. Graham is the top receiver for Ohio State, and they feel he's really got the great athletic ability that if they had the passing attack, he'd catch a lot more than the 21 that he had going into this game.
Coach Cooper calls Jeff Graham his big play man. 55 yards, the biggest play of the game to this point.
He's also an excellent downfield blocker, which is one of the reasons he's playing so much.
And it's 1st and goal at the Iowa 9.
As well as that great ability.
Fry. Graham. Touchdown. Scotty Graham on the 9-yard touchdown reception. So a couple of Grahams, no relation, come up with big plays. And Ohio State in 2 plays goes 64 yards to score. And those 2 plays capping an 87-yard drive. Pat O'Morrow and the Buckeyes lead the Iowa hole. Penalty marker down. Flag down on the play. The field goal is good. Penalty marker down. And the extra point, rather, is good. Not the field goal, the extra point is good. And apparently the penalty against Iowa, they'll assess it on the kickoff.
Well, this pass, and they've been very efficient with their passing attack, is set up off the run. Watch to the inside. Nobody takes Scotty Graham. And as soon as this ball's in his hands, it's over. Merton Hanks has no chance right here of knocking down Scotty Graham. It was like a mosquito coming off the side of his thigh. Of course, a quarterback loves to see a short pass turn into a touchdown. Looks good in the stats. Looks good for his team. And looks good for the Bulls.
Yes, sir. Watch the big play prior to the touchdown pass that set it all up. We're talking about another Graham. This one is Jeff.
See, and the tight end comes down, clears out, and they just curl. It's just a simple pass, but Hanks misses a tackle here. There's another arm tackle there. And Jeff Graham, there's a 3rd one. He just keeps running, a 4th missed tackle. Great players make people miss tackles, and that's exactly what Jeff Graham did in this play. That's about the 6th man right there. It takes the 7th player on Iowa's defense to finally get Jeff Graham down.
Pat O'Morrow will kick off, but from the 40-yard line due to a roughing penalty on Iowa. They made contact with the kicker. It was not a major. There are the Graham boys. Again, not brothers. It's the first thing you ask when you come here, how they related. O'Morrow. Gets good leverage into this kick. Lampkin had a notion for a moment. Danon Hughes told him to stay there with it, and Iowa will take over from its 20-yard line. Now trailing by 3 touchdowns, 6:35 to go here in the third period. Oklahoma State leading Colorado. The Colorado team has struggled. The Buffaloes have struggled down at Stillwater. Nebraska trailing Kansas. Big letdown perhaps there. Kansas getting out early. Auburn over Louisiana Tech in the second period. Penn State leads Maryland.
Third period, they're staying close, Maryland.
West Virginia now has come from behind to take the lead on Rutgers. Bill McCartney something like 1-5 down at Stillwater with the Buffaloes in his career. First down Hawkeyes from the 20. Rogers, lots of time, got Hughes over the middle. Danon Hughes still spinning, and they're going to give yardage out to the 31, where he picks up a first down on a gain of 11. David Brown stung him back initially. Judah Herman helping out.
The score is 21-0. As a linebacker, you have to play that. You don't get caught up at the line of scrimmage on play action. You see the fake, and there's no linebacker. They didn't even get off the line. Wide open is number 3, Danon Hughes, and it's just another easy pitch and catch. But linebackers, you got to think, was it down and distance? Was it score of the game? Because you have to have that edge on play action because the offense makes it look so authentic. You have to play the other factors to determine run pass.
Hawkeyes want a timeout here. They take their first time out of the second half with 5:58 left to go in the third period of play.
Hayden saying, why are you wasting a timeout?
My goodness. Been a tough day for the quarterback. Iowa pass offense has not been on track. Now some frustration.
Well, it reminds me of a lot of things that went on the sideline, our sideline when I played here at Ohio State. I've seen a lot of face masks being grabbed and shook.
Hayden Fry looks like he's going to make a change at quarterback. Tom Paholski is coming on, at least for this play.
You follow your fullback, you see what I'm saying? Because if he
Hayden
goes
Fry.
in one hole and you go in another, nobody blocks 66. You see what I'm saying? You just step back in and make the play. So make sure you follow that fullback. You two got to be exactly the same way.
Hayden Fry explaining what he wants from Matt Rogers and Tom Paholski in the ball game. Now the senior from St. Louis, Missouri, started the season in the opener against Oregon. Hasn't played a whole lot since then. Again, we talked about Rogers being relatively inexperienced. A sophomore in his first season as starting quarterback of the Iowa Hawkeyes. Rogers 11 of 22, 110 yards here this afternoon. So Paholski on a 1st and 10. Play action. Marciano was hammered in the back by David Brown, but hung on somehow. He is somewhat shaken up, although he trots off under his own power. 15-yard gain, and he paid for every foot of it.
Fry is not a
really
happy
upset.
camper at this point, obviously. Not only is it 21-0, but he's had to pull his quarterback out of the game. Everything seems to be going wrong for him today. David Brown got a good hit on that, but he forgot the guy caught the pass for a first down. We got players celebrate when they make a tackle, even when the guy makes a first down these days.
From the 47, 1st and 10. Paholski may be checking off at the line. Again, the play action. Hawkeyes near the 27 of Ohio State. Mark Pelini made the tackle downfield. 28-yard gain.
Well, this is a play that Pelini should make. He was in position, just didn't quite have the quickness. You see, he's in position right here. He's waiting for him out there. But what's he do? He doesn't cut, and he just lets him catch the ball in front of him. There's an old saying, you know, well, you're in position, but you didn't make the play. That's about the worst you can be because it means you did not execute.
Tom Paholski made things happen on the first 2 snaps in the game. Under a blitz from Coleman. Gets it off to Bass, who drops it incomplete. Oh, man, I'll tell you, Ken Coleman was all over the quarterback. The senior did a good job to dump that ball off.
Excellent job. He saved about 10 yards on the play because Coleman came free. This is the thing that can really spur a team. You know, you bring a guy in off the bench, nothing's been working. See right here, watch Coleman come from the right-hand side of your screen. See him come free. The fullback forgets to pick him up. Wide open, he gets the ball away just before he hits the ground.
2nd and 10, Hawkeyes.
Fumble.
Paholski fell on the football at the line of scrimmage. Got it back for Iowa. Lost maybe a half yard, and they'll come up 3rd down and a little bit more than 10 yards to go.
Again, that's happened twice now with 2 different quarterbacks. You'd almost have to say the center had something to do with it. That's the constant in this situation.
Matt Rogers on the headset now. I wonder if that's the headset discarded by Hayden Fry. I don't think so. The headset discarded by Hayden Fry I don't think is operable anymore.
Yeah, it's in pieces.
Now we've got a break here. Ohio State wants a timeout to make an adjustment defensively, so each side on this drive has taken a timeout. 4:27 left to go. There's John Cooper on the Ohio State sidelines. Elsewhere in college football today, again, it's 21-0 Ohio State here. Nebraska has caught Kansas as expected. 7 apiece in Lincoln, Nebraska. Georgia putting it to Florida. And I think somewhere we had Air Force, but it was overpowered by Ohio State at the moment. Let's take a look at the scoring summary. 3 touchdowns today. The first one coming in the first period of play. Scotty Graham powering over from 3 yards away. That capped a 9-play, 40-yard drive. Then through the air to Jeff Graham, capping a 15-play, 80-yard drive. And here in the 3rd period of play, Scotty Graham on the 9-yard touchdown reception, capping a 6-play, 87-yard drive. Wayne Larrivee with Stan White and Ben Bennett, and we are at Ohio Stadium in Columbus. The Iowa Hawkeyes facing a 3rd down, a little bit more than 10 yards to go, just inside the Buckeye 28. Tom Paholski screens it out. Saunders gets a block, but not enough yardage for the first down to the Buckeye 21. Vince Clark came up to make the play from the secondary. They had carted Clark off with a hip pointer or a thigh bruise earlier in the ball game back in the first half. Are the Hawkeyes in 4-down territory? I would think so.
They'd have to be at this point. If they're going to go for it right before the half, they're going to go for it now as Hayden Fry is sending in his play. One of his messenger receivers, Danon Hughes. But Ohio State called that timeout to make sure they were in the right defense. They knew they had this game in semi-control and didn't want to lose it with a new quarterback coming in.
4th down and 4. Paholski. Saunders broken up by Brown.
Well, they had him. They had him open. You see the linebackers pointing at each other. Number 36, Judah Herman, tried to catch up with him. He couldn't, but Dave Brown took over and took the coverage because his man blocked. Good pickup by Dave Brown. Watch him. There's Dave Brown. There's nobody to see. There's Judah Herman coming. He can't catch him, so Brown takes him at the last minute, is in position, and knocks the football down. Luckily, the pattern was coming into the territory where Brown was standing.
Breck Fry now with the 1st and 10 at his 21. Checking off at the line. Scotty Graham. 4 yards on a power move. Jim Johnson, Brad Quast, the tackles for the Hawkeyes.
Well, you heard the blue 34, blue 34. They go in a color system. If blue is the live color, that means this is the play we're going to run, 34. And that probably was the live color because that was the 3 back, the fullback to the 4 hole, 34. There's Dave Brown, who made the big knockdown. It was a good pickup because it wasn't his man. It was a running back, and the linebacker should have taken him and didn't.
Dante Lee is the tail of the tandem on this second down call. Lee. Into the clear. To the Iowa 43. Craig Brown brought him down 32 yards.
Dante Lee is upset he didn't go all the way. Just a toss play, breaks it into the hole, and he's gone right here. One man left. He decides to cut back. If he'd have stayed down the sideline behind Stasiak, he probably went all the way. Let's watch it from a different angle. Here he comes. Now watch him break through the gap. There's nobody left but one man, and he's got Joe Stasiak in front of him, but he decides to cut back inside. He stays outside and uses Stasiak. He keeps running.
Scotty Graham pounding away. Inside the Hawkeye 40. Lee, 3 carries, 46 yards. On that previous play, he went 32. Coming into the game, he was averaging 7.2 yards a carry. And here's what the Grahams have done, the damage they have wrought on the Hawkeyes today. Graham cracking. You could put it that way.
You could.
Boy, we've got some
but
creative
somebody
people
did.
down there in the truck, huh? Second down now for Ohio State. Second at 6. Fry. Olive stumbled for a moment as he broke free from the coverage and couldn't quite make the play.
Merton Hanks, who's had a real tough day here today, fell down on that play again, but he fell down as the ball was being released. The quarterback didn't see it, and he threw it to the open area. If it had hesitated one more second, it would have been all the way. Hanks was on the ground, getting up, complaining he just can't keep his feet in the dirt. We've seen a lot of people fall down today, but you do as a defensive back, you're in real trouble.
Third down, 6 yards to go for the Buckeyes. Lee.
Dante Lee carry.
Dante Lee's got a first down at the 32-yard line. Torque Hook forced him out. Man, he is quick. Elsewhere in college football today, Miami of Florida leading 14th ranked Pitt 3-0 in the first. BYU on top of the Air Force. Duke over NC State in the fourth. Texas Tech piling it up on TCU. And Oklahoma State leading the nation's second-ranked team, undefeated Colorado.
Talk about a letdown after a big, big victory, an emotional victory. That can happen.
Sure can. First down, Buckeyes at the 32.
Blue 43, audible.
To Dante Lee. And a good skip move off right tackle, taking it back inside. And he's down to about the 27, maybe the 28-yard line. Johnson and Quast on the stop. Ohio State has been impressive here today, Stan. I mean, this is a much improved team over the one that went out to Southern California and was hammered by USC.
Well, the improvement has been on the defensive side of the football today. Good game plan and good execution. They changed up on their pass rush. They blitzed a little more. Did an outstanding job today after being a much maligned defense all year long.
2nd and 5 for Greg Fry and company. Fry, broken play. He's one-on-one with Jim Johnson. There's a penalty marker away from the play. Johnson makes the sack back near the 30-yard line. Penalty marker down. That was thrown more in the interior portion of the line.
Well, that was one of those audibles that a freshman, Dante Lee, didn't get. He turned around, looked for Lee, and Lee had gone the other direction. He's talking to him now about the audible system.
The officials talking it over with Iowa. It might be a hold against Ohio State. At least that appeared to be where the flag was thrown into the line. There's Dante Lee.
Happens with
explosive
freshmen.
runner.
We've seen it happen with Alonzo Spellman, where he's made great plays and been caught inside on others. That's how you learn.
Apparently Iowa's going to take the penalty. Holding against Ohio State is the penalty. And the Hawkeyes will take the penalty and push Ohio State back outside the 35 to the 37, where it's still second down.
Well, they have to guard. They can't give him another score. You'd think that, no, it's already a 5-yard loss. We'll take the down, make it third down in about 8 or 9, but they have to keep him out of field goal range. They can't afford to give him a 4th score because there's only 1 quarter left in this football game.
Buckeyes waiting for the third period to come to a close. There's Hayden Fry. It's been a tough afternoon for him on the Iowa sidelines. Ohio State 21, Iowa nothing. As we head into the 4th period of play at Ohio Stadium in Columbus. To play, and the Buckeyes have the football at the Iowa 37-yard line. A very important game in terms of bowls. Ohio State still has a chance at the Rose Bowl. A win here today would give the Buckeyes 6 wins on the season and would most certainly clinch a postseason berth somewhere. Iowa, on the other hand, comes in at 4-4, 2-3 in the conference. Second down for Fry. That's Scotty Graham, and he didn't get much, maybe a yard. Third down coming up now for Ohio State. Opening minute of play in this, the 4th period. There's Matt Rogers and Tom Paholski. Paholski, number 14, came on for Rogers in the 3rd period. Rogers started the ball game, number 7. Third down now for the Buckeyes. Fry. Wide open is Lee. Dante Lee for the first down. 18-yard gain, and man, when he touches the football, listen to the ovation here at Ohio Stadium. Elsewhere, there's a final. Notre Dame, almost 60 points to defeat SMU. Purdue leading Northwestern big in the 3rd. Minnesota on top of Michigan State now in the 3rd period. Indiana leads Wisconsin. Oklahoma on top of Kansas State as expected.
One thing Iowa does, Wayne, on their blitzes, a lot of times they play zone with too few zones covered behind their blitz. They did it on that play, and nobody took Dante Lee out of the backfield, and he ran through the open zone for the first down.
From the 18. The Buckeyes had a first down. Scotty Graham ran into stiff resistance. Matt Rulin and the blitzing Brian Wise.
15, Brian Wise, and number 57, Matt Rulin.
Once again, as we get into the 4th period here for Iowa, Stan White, this is a game that could mean the end of their postseason hopes. Could, I'm saying, not anything official there, obviously. But the Rose Bowl is certainly a possibility for Ohio State. What must happen later today, I guess, is the Ohio State people say is that they need somebody to knock off Illinois for us. Then we can take care of Michigan, because we still have Michigan left on our schedule. But
Right.
we've already lost at Illinois.
Illinois has to lose twice, and then Ohio State beat Michigan for them to go.
Second down for the Buckeyes. Toss to Lee. Down to about the 17-yard line. Rulin again got over from the defensive line, and Quast in the linebacking core on the stop. I would get into the 3-way tie, but you know something? I would probably defer to our sideline reporter, Ben Bennett, who has a Duke education behind him and should understand the complicated procedures of tie breaking here.
No, I mean, I can't explain it any better than they have, and at least not right now.
Third down now for Ohio State. You and I are chicken to get into that. That's going to open a can of worms. Third down, Buckeyes. Scotty Graham breaking free. First down inside the 5. Oh, my goodness, he has run with authority today. Jeff Keppel made the tackle. And it's first and goal, Buckeyes, in their most impressive performance of the season, a 15-yard gain.
Just a handoff, a straight handoff, and run over people. Eddie Polly, the free safety, tried to come up. Mismatch, 6 foot 180 against 5'10", 225. He breaks one arm tackle. Now watch right here. Boom! Just runs over the defensive secondary. A powerful fullback is going to do that. You cannot let him build up that momentum if you expect your secondary to make that tackle.
First and goal. Cook in motion. Lee over the top to the 1. Boy, they are really hot for Dante Lee in this town. You know, we heard it Thursday coming in here. Everybody talking about that freshman.
Well,
Let's
he came
watch him
in
action.
against Purdue and got 90 yards. The second half, 156 against Northwestern. And watch the dive over the top. Pretty good elevation for a guy 5'10". Good vertical jump.
7 carries, 62 yards for Lee here. And boy, I tell you, next year his tumble will be softer, yes, because they'll put in natural grass on this old AstroTurf field. They'll pull it up and plant grass here next year. Iowa did that this year.
Michigan will in 2 years.
Second and goal to go. Cook again in motion. Lee. Touchdown. He has carried the ball 43 times this year. He has scored 4 times.
Just a toss to Lee, and he just puts his shoulder down right here and gets to the end zone. Good blocking, good tough run by a small back. He smells that goal line.
Pat O'Morrow out of the hold of Greg Fry. And Ohio State is rolling it up big time on the Iowa Hawkeyes. They are in command at 28-0. It's College Football Saturday. Iowa versus Ohio State is brought to you by BMW, the ultimate driving machine. To arrange a thorough test drive, simply phone your nearest BMW dealer. By Aetna, the insurance company that gives new meaning to the word diligent. And by Anheuser-Busch. We brew our fine quality beers to be enjoyed responsibly. Remember, know when to say when. Ohio Stadium in Columbus. There's the man of the hour as far as the crowd is concerned, Dante Lee. An exciting freshman running back. Ohio State has had touchdown drives of 40, 80, 87, and 79 yards. Time of possession thus far, Ohio State 30.5 minutes, Iowa 18:39. Buckeyes are accomplishing all of their goals in this ball game here today.
In this direction, he's kicking off with just a 3-step kick and just kicking it straight up in the air, forcing almost a fair catch by Iowa.
And there it is. It's almost like a punt toward the sidelines. And the catch made at the 20. I believe a fair catch signal had been given. And they're going to mark it at the 21-yard line where he made the catch. Well, here's what's happened to this ball game to this point. Scotty Graham, 70 yards of offense, 2 touchdowns. Jeff Graham, 86 yards of offense and a touchdown. Ohio State stopped Iowa on an 86-yard drive at the Buckeye 1-yard line. And Lee, 8 carries, 63 yards and a touchdown. The freshman has been the spark. Matt Rogers back into the ball game. He had been on the headset with his coaches on the sidelines through the tail end of the third period and the early portion of the fourth. On a reverse flea flicker. Rogers, lots of time. Gets it away, and Saunders, I believe the receiver who makes the catch. Mike Saunders out across the 35 to the 38-yard line on an 18-yard play.
Saunders was the man who first handled the ball. He was the back who took the pitch. He handed off, hoped they'd forget about it. There's Saunders, number 32. He hands off and then goes down the sideline, hoping that he can be forgotten about. Basically, he is, because he's open, because they had really 7 men back defending and only 2 receivers out.
Mike Saunders. There he is, out of Milton, Wisconsin. First down Hawkeyes at the 38. Rogers being pressured. Hit as he threw the football. Srečko Zizakovic, a senior from Weston, Ontario, Canada, responsible for the misfire that time.
Well, again, it's 28-0. You don't get fooled on fake and reverses. You don't get fooled on play action. You just keep rushing. You see Zizakovic has come in free. Problem about play action is if the defensive line isn't respecting the run, you're going to be out of position to make the blocks. That's exactly what happened as they faked the run. Zizakovic went right by him.
2nd and 10. Bass turned back just short of the 40-yard line. Gain of a, well, yard or two at most. Zizakovic played the run well that time, along with Steve Tovar. We talked about him. Good-looking freshman.
And Wayne, getting back to that tie-breaking situation, it's really not that difficult. If it's a three-way tie, first of all, it's your head-to-head competition. If it's all Iowa, Illinois, and Ohio State, it could be all 1-1, 1-1. Secondly, it's your overall record. They'd all be equal to that if the scenario played out. Then it would be Illinois because they've been farthest since going to Rome.
Again, pressure on Rogers. Pass underthrown. Alonzo Spellman, who has made a living in the offensive backfield of the Hawkeyes today, provided the heat that time.
Yeah, we talked about the storyline. Storyline is the defense of Ohio State, and especially Alonzo Spellman, just using his speed to go right around the blocker, and again, reaching around with his outside arm, grabbing a hold of Rogers.
How many times have we seen that happen today? Rogers getting grabbed as he makes the throw, or hit as he makes the throw. Isaac's punt. This is Bobby Olive. Almost found a seam out across the 30 to the 31. Ted Faley made the stop. 39-yard punt, 10-yard return. Buckeyes will be on offense when we... I tell you, everybody comes out to see the football game here in Columbus. First down for Ohio State, 31-yard line. Buckeye territory. 9:28 to go in the fourth. Graham. Boy, they are slicing some holes in that Iowa defense. Elsewhere, college football. Colorado stormed back to take the lead on Oklahoma State of the second period of play. Nebraska leading Kansas, a little bit tougher than expected there. Miami of Florida over Pitt. Penn State and Maryland. Maryland's caught the Nittany Lions in the fourth period. And West Virginia still has defeated Rutgers now, 21-20. Tough loss for the Rutgers program.
Back to that tie situation, Wayne. If Illinois gets beat by Michigan today, Ohio State beat Michigan, they'll all be 1-1 against each other, and we'll finish it up after this play.
Second down, about a yard to go. First down, penalty marker down. Graham is out to the 46-yard line. Gary Clark came in to make the stop, along with Brad Quast for the Iowa Hawkeyes.
Number 19, Gary Clark.
In a moment, we'll get the indication from the penalty. They've got a hold on the Ohio State offensive line. Well, getting back to it, what we're saying is simply this. Let's say Ohio State wins the rest of its games, including beating Michigan.
And Michigan beats
Illinois later this afternoon, and Michigan wins the rest of its games. And Illinois wins the rest of its games after today. Now, what you have are three teams tied for first in the Big Ten Conference.
Right.
Three teams whose records in conference play are all equal, whose records among themselves are all 1-1.
Exactly.
And whose overall records are all equal. Now, it's the team that went to the Rose Bowl last that gets to go. No, longest period previous. We'll clear that up.
What happens is,
Graham on the carry. What I'm saying is Michigan went last year, Ohio State has gone, and before Ohio State and Michigan went to the Rose Bowl, Illinois went to the Rose Bowl. Illinois is the one who hasn't been there.
Illinois will go because Michigan went last year on a three-way tie. That eliminates Michigan. So Ohio State and Illinois go to a two-way tiebreaker, and Illinois beat Ohio State head-to-head, so they would go over Ohio State.
Okay.
Okay?
That's it. Third down coming up here.
We made it more complicated than it is, I guarantee
I
you.
guarantee we did. Third down for the Buckeyes. Fry, Dante Lee, and he's not going to get it here. Got about a yard out to the 35-yard line. Jim Johnson made the stop on the play, along with Brad Quast. So fourth down for the Buckeyes, and Iowa will get another crack at it. Time winding down to this fourth period of play. 7 minutes left to go, and Ohio State leading big, 28-0.
You know, most coaches would probably feel pretty good with a 28-0 lead, but John Cooper's seen that evaporate on him before.
Jeff Bowman in punt formation. Marciano slips and falls. Well, we've seen a lot of people catch cleats on this turf here today. 49-yard punt, virtually no return. And from the 16, Iowa will put it in play first and 10. We've got a break of the action. 6:36 left to be played in Columbus.
Was it 49?
Oh, there. There's the band. First down, Iowa. Rogers over the top. Watkins took a hellacious hit. Man, he was really pounded on the play by Foster Paul. First down, Hawkeyes. Sizable chunk of yardage out across the 35 to the 36, a 20-yard gain. Well, you cleared up the Big Ten Rose Bowl determination process for me, Stan, but we're going to reinforce it since I kind of scrambled it for everybody else, but we're going to have it for you later on, and we'll put it up on the screen for you. Rogers on the roll. Throwing back against the grain, John Falloon. Inside the 40, down to the 38-yard line. Mark Polini over to make the tackle. And the Iowa Hawkeyes come up firing here, trailing 28-0. 27-yard pass play.
Nice read by Rogers. He was going to Danon Hughes, who had run an out. They'd run the roll out and out pattern 2 or 3 times. This time he ran an out up. But the defense, when it's 28-0, doesn't bite on those short patterns. He stayed in their correct position, and he got to the secondary receiver in time.
You saw Iowa's road record. It's been exemplary until today. First down. Rogers under pressure again, and Tom Lease gets his man back outside the 40. Second sack by Ohio State, but I'll tell you, the pressure has been relentless all day.
We talked about Ohio State being last in the conference in pass defense, and they felt they were there because they had no pass rush. We see Tom Leash now adding some pass rush. We've seen Alonzo Spellman. We've seen Streko Zizakovic add some pass rush. Really, they're getting their best pass rushers in there. They're running some games, and it's really been a big improvement for them.
Second and 14. Rogers. Nowhere to go with it. Foster in on the stop that time, along with Greg Smith, a freshman nose guard. It has been one of those days for Hayden Fry.
Well, he had the play called correctly. He saw the man-to-man coverage. He looked downfield for the receiver. Travis Watkins, who had run a post, seemed to be open, but because of the pressure, Matt Rogers could not get the ball to him. Again, the pressure the key.
Third and 15, loss of 1 on that play. Rogers undershot Marciano on the near side. So the frustration continues for an Iowa offense that has been throttled virtually all afternoon.
Well, they've been throttled by a good pass rush, and really Matt Rogers has been off today. He's had several people open and has overthrown the ball. He's underthrown the ball. this has not been a good day for young Matt Rogers, and he's just going to have to bounce back. He seems to have the poise to be able to do that. Now he'll have to do it next week.
4th down for the Hawkeyes. 4th and 15. Rogers. Nearly intercepted on the play. A couple of Buckeyes picked each other off, Pelini and Brown.
Well, it's probably better they didn't on 4th down because the ball comes all the way back out to the 42.
Exactly.
But when you're a defensive player and you get a chance for a free interception like that, it goes on your statistics. Any type of game, you want to come down with it.
Now 1st down for the Buckeyes. 3:59 left to be played. Been a tough transition year for Hayden Fry and the Iowa Hawkeyes. They have some good young players in that program, and they will be back, no question, next year.
Well, they've gone to 8 straight bowl games, and this was the game that may have catapulted them into the 9th straight. But it was not to be, as Ohio State's defense, to me, has been the whole story of this football game.
By the same token, this is going to clinch a bowl berth, I'm sure, for Ohio State somewhere. Kirk Herbstreit is in the ballgame at quarterback for Ohio State. And not a whole lot there, and a quick dive up the middle for about a yard. Get a call that time for Ohio State. Tyrone Harrison coming up later today on ESPN. We've got Arkansas and Baylor out of the Southwest, and the Razorbacks in position to make a run for the title down there in the Cotton Bowl berth. And Baylor, one of the top defenses. Then Alabama, 4th-ranked team in the nation, against what has been for LSU a disappointing season, but what a feather in their cap if they could pull an upset tonight on our primetime game. 2nd down. About 7 yards to go. Dante Lee. Boy, he has quickness, doesn't he? Darting little runner. Leroy Smith made the stop. 5'10", 175 is Dante Lee, a freshman out of Dayton, Ohio. He has 67 yards on 10 carries and a touchdown here today. And he leaves his team with a 3rd down and 2 coming up. Elsewhere, keeping you updated on college football around the country today. Duke in the 4th period, still leading NC State by 15. Indiana on top of Wisconsin now in rather comfortable fashion. Yale has defeated Princeton. Boston College knocked off Army. Right here, Ohio State leading 28-0. Lee. Inside the 25. John Derby knocked him down. 27-yard pickup.
There's one thing about this ground attack. It just continues to wear down a defense. They got new offensive linemen in. They got some new defensive players in. But the confidence, the momentum is all on the side of Ohio State at this point, and that makes a lot when you're running the play. You have to have that grit, that confidence to stick your nose in there, and it's tough at this part of the game. It just is from a defensive standpoint. I've been there many times.
Lee 4 yards short of 100. Lee slips and falls and loses a couple there as a penalty marker flies. Well, Ohio State came in with some confidence. They had scored on 13 of their last 16 possessions in their previous 2 ball games coming into today. Holding the call against Ohio State. This will back them up. But the coaches mentioned that wasn't against the best of defenses. The Buckeyes piling up those numbers. And as far as that was concerned, you talk about, well, of course, they had beaten Northwestern 52-27 in Minnesota.
Holding, offense, 1st down.
They beat Minnesota and come from behind fashion 41-37 previous to the Northwestern game. So they had not played the best defenses, but they felt that Iowa was a legitimate defense against the run.
Well, Iowa's at the point under Hayden Fry where everybody fears Iowa when they play him. That's what he's done with his program since he's been there.
1st down at 20. Herbstreit. He's an option quarterback. Ran a wishbone attack in high school and did well to get to the line of scrimmage here. Brett Bielema and Ed Marshall on the tackle. Ohio State on the ground, 267 yards of rushing offense today, 93 for Iowa. Ohio State had what, over 400 yards of rushing offense last week at Northwestern.
It wasn't too long ago, maybe 10 years ago, that everybody wanted to play Iowa. These days, when you have Iowa coming in, you know you better be ready to play every time they take the field, because he's made them into that type of team. Everybody said you couldn't do that at Iowa. Under Bob Cummings, Frank Lauterbur, just couldn't be done. But Hayden Fry showed people differently.
Second down. Herbstreit hit the ground with the ball. So broken exchange that time. A loss of 3 more yards back to the 35, and Ohio State will face a third down. There's John Cooper. Tell you what, he was under some heat earlier this year after that USC game. No question about that. But he's turned this thing around. We'll be back for the final 51 seconds after this. Ohio State now facing a third down in the final minute of play here. It's been an impressive afternoon for the Buckeyes. Lee slips and falls and lost maybe a half yard. Well, I promised never to muddy the waters on tiebreakers and postseason possibilities, so let's get down to Ben Bennett to straighten us out.
Well, thank you, Wayne. Let me try and clear up this thing real quickly. If the scenario goes like you said, and every team ends up with 1 win and 1 loss against each other, you have to go all the way down to eliminate Michigan because they went to the Rose Bowl last year. Then it reverts back to the 2-way, and they go to head-to-head competition where Illinois has beaten Ohio State. Therefore, they go to the Rose Bowl. Duke education comes in handy. Back up to you, fellas.
Thank you, Ben. I knew that sooner or later you'd clear that up for me. Although Stan White, the Ohio State grad, also had a handle on it. When they get into the 3rd and 4th tiers of tiebreakers, they get over my head.
Just tell me, class at Duke or just go to school at Duke?
4th down now for Ohio State as they run out the clock here with 42 seconds remaining. So Ohio State trying to salt away the victory, be their 6th of the season. Dante Lee, they're trying to get him 100 yards. And he picked up about 4 right there. Ohio State, record of 5-1 now in conference play. As time expires, and the Buckeyes, Hayden Fry on the sidelines. And there is the Rose Bowl scenario. Stan White, I'll defer to you.
Well, if Michigan beats Illinois and Illinois loses to Indiana, who they play the next game, and Ohio State would win their this game and the last 2, which includes Michigan, that's the way Ohio State can get to the Rose Bowl, because they do lose in a 2-way tiebreaker with Illinois.
Could be the final play of the game. Rogers going up over the top. Watkins, that's the first time he didn't hang on to it. He took a pretty good hit from a young freshman, Darrell Lewis, out of San Diego, California.
A lot of people are sitting home wondering, why is Hayden Fry calling timeouts when it's 28-0? He's coaching for the future. With a young team, the idea is never give up. Illinois, if they do beat Michigan this afternoon, and then they beat Indiana, then they would go, obviously, with that perfect record in the conference.
30 seconds left to be played. Rogers looking around, going deep, in the play broken up nicely by David Brown. 22 seconds remaining to be played. The victory by Ohio State would make the Buckeyes 5-1, is 7-2 overall. And what would an Ohio State game at Columbus be without Script Ohio? The Ohio State marching band, one of the finest in the nation.
You know, Bino Cook for a long time has been lobbying to be able to do what we'll see here at the very end, and that's to dot the I's. We see the drum major bring out one of the tuba players. They alternate that honor to be able to dot the I on Script Ohio, just an institution here at Ohio State.
3rd down for Iowa. And he's got his man out of play. That'll be an incompletion. And that kind of underscores the type of afternoon it's been for the Hawkeyes. Lance Price forced the receiver out of play. Iowa will fall to 4-5, 2-4 in Big Ten play. And again, they'd be hard-pressed to make a bowl game off a 4-5 mark at this stage of the season. But Ohio State going to 7-2 overall. Regardless of what they do the rest of the way, they're going to be in a bowl game somewhere.
Yeah, it sure does look like it. And for a team that was struggling to survive early in the season, as well as Coach Cooper struggling to survive the fans here in Columbus, they've done a great turnaround.
Rogers, Saunders. Saunders trying to make something happen. In the final seconds of play, he's out of bounds as time winds down. So the Ohio State Buckeyes and John Cooper in an impressive victory over Hayden Fry and the Iowa Hawkeyes. The final score, 28-0 Ohio State. Let's go back to our studios and Chris Fowler.
Okay, thank you very much, gentlemen. Ohio State's only 2 losses to USC and to Illinois. People have kind of written them off. Shouldn't have done that. Coming up on our Residence Inn scoreboard, all kinds of scores and highlights. We'll hear from Bino and Lee as we move towards Baylor and Arkansas. Coming up in about, 12 minutes or so. Stay with us. Berth for the Rose Bowl. Michigan has jumped out on top early on. This game just a minute into the first quarter, and already the Wolverines jumped out on top in Champaign-Urbana. Right there, Jared Bunch from 1 yard out. That was set up by a long run by Tony Bowles, and Michigan 14-1-1 in their last 16 games at Champaign, already out in front by a score of 7-0. Colorado got a scare from Oklahoma State early on. They trailed 10-0. The Buffalo.
Final minutes with the score tied was highlighted by a Cody Carlson connection with Bruce Davis. Marty Jimerson made a last-second field goal, and Baylor got the win. It was their last victory in Arkansas. In '85, Baylor quarterback Tom Mickey hit Matt Clark with an 88-yard strike, and Baylor jumped out to a 14-0 lead. But the Hogs came back, and with 5 minutes to go, the Razorbacks took the lead for good on a surprise 50-yard touchdown pass from Greg Thomas to Luther Franklin. It was one of only 2 completions the entire game, but it counted for the victory. 2 years ago in '87, Baylor fumbled the football with a 7-3 lead when all they had to do was run out the clock. And then Arkansas took advantage. James Rouse scampered in with only 37 seconds remaining, and the Hogs stole another one, 10-7.
The season to let our low prices jingle your bells at Unclaimed.